Chapter 33. Today was bright and clear, barely a cloud in the sky, and the sea breeze kept the heat away with ease. For the island nation of Uzushio, this was peak be-outside weather. For Tsunami and Temari, who were walking out of the busy and still under construction train station and making their way down the main road, it was a welcome breath of fresh air. Sure, the ride from Wave to Yuzu was only half an hour, but that was still a long time underground for those not used to it. Temari took in the atmosphere. The train yard was so busy with people and equipment, probably just as busy as Wave's port if she was being honest. You people sure don't know how to slow down, do you? Tsunami walked along with her hands linked behind her. We're a busy nation. Thankfully, without Naruto and the others going on any new raids and no new migrants, our population has begun to stabilize a bit. Just as well with the completion of the first rail line between Spring and Yuzu, we are now getting steady shipments of both provisions and people back and forth. Tsunami had noticed people looking for manual labor work seemed to prefer Yuzu and Wave, while craftsmen and heavy thinkers were going to Spring. It was a good thing to see the civilians making their own way like this, and it was going a long way to diversifying their lands. Temari noted as they walked away from the heavy industry of the train station and started to pass large open fields that the road they were on was just as large as everything else. Even out here it's so busy. What about your military? She was working now full-time as the ambassador between Suna and Yuzu, someone else taking over with Konoha. They were still on the hush-hush, Uzushio still not well known among the larger nations. She had a feeling that was going to change soon. Tsunami couldn't answer her question, lack of knowledge on the subject tying her hands. You'll have to ask Naruto and the others about that. That's not my area of expertise. I'm more of an ambassador myself, so I deal with civilians and public affairs. Pausing to smile at the young woman next to her, Tsunami continued to lead the way. Think of me as the mayor of Wave. I deal with movements between the two countries and some ancillary tasks. They continue their walk, Temari watching a work crew adding smaller rail tracks along the center of the large road as they entered the residential area. Tsunami caught Temari watching the work crews. We're going to be adding in smaller rail cars in order to provide mass transit to the population. Temari nodded, something like this. Spring really is going to be making money hand over fist if they keep innovations like this coming. Tsunami sure hoped so, waving at a group of children running along the sidewalks. We've found there are innovations all over the nations that just haven't been brought together all in one place. So we're taking all those ideas and utilizing them. As they walked and weaved through the lightly populated residential area, the street began to fill with people as they entered the commercial district. The main tower was now in sight as well. Temari was frowning, however. Is it just me, or is the road curving slightly? Tsunami nodded. My father and Naruto designed the city into the shape of a spiral, commemorating the Uzumaki clan itself. Underground, however, there was a much more practical subway tunnel network that was still growing and set up in a much more practical circular grid pattern. Naruto wouldn't say what it was all for, but a good portion of it was for evacuation and hardened shelters. Coming out into the city center, Tsunami waved a hand at the tower. This is our main administration building, affectionately named the Uzumaki Tower. It serves as both commercial office building, central government building, and the Uzumaki Mansion. She motioned out to the city around them, as more children ran by while greeting the long-haired woman by name. We've started civilian schools throughout the city, though a ninja training facility is on hold for now. She pointed forward back towards the Uzumaki Tower. At its front, besides the entrance, is the Uzumaki Memorial. Temari took in tall reflective black spire with the bright red Uzumaki crest at its base. As they walked up to the entrance, she looked over the inscription. Laid to rest are the bones of the betrayed, but their dreams of peace live on. We are a people of resilience, of strength, of love. For the peaceful future we all wish for, never forget the fallen. Beautiful. Temari made sure to keep a short distance from the monument as to not step on a host of flowers that had been set at its base. This isn't an anniversary, is it? Tsunami shook her head. The people have taken to almost always having some flowers here in recent days. Tsunami had crossed the distance to one of the many doors leading inside, someone politely holding the door open for her as she bowed to him. It might have started when some civilians saw Ino leaving flowers here once they moved in. There's been a petition already about building a planter around the monument to having living flowers there instead. Temari nodded, bowing to the polite man as well as they entered the busy space of the interior. Would be a great tribute, I think. Looking upon the organized chaos of the administration floor. There was plenty of natural light from the wide-open glass walls, the construction of the building being mostly concrete and glass from what she could see. Looks as busy as ever. The first floor ceiling rose above them for a bit, bright lights hung there, currently off and unneeded in the daylight. Tsunami weaved through the space. Naruto wanted construction to at least pause for a while so everyone could take a break and focus on civilian matters. He wants to begin rebuilding the other islands next year, but that'll take more planning and resources. So what's all this about? Temari was looking around at all the civilians and tried to focus past the idle noise of people. The first floor is meant to be something of our welcome center. Here we handle new arrivals along with simple matters like registration, information requests, and civilian job boards. Tsunami leads Temari to the center pillar, dominating the space that housed a wall of doors. Let's head up. Temari raised an eyebrow. Elevators, huh? Tsunami called one and they both entered with no one else joining them. Where's all this power coming from? A gift from Spring, generators based on the ones they used to thaw their country. They provide all of our electricity needs for the moment. Karen was talking about upgrading to thermal generators in order to use the Earth's natural heat deep underground. Tsunami made a face that showed she didn't really know much about it. Karen and my father talked about it once at great length. All I could gather was that in an emergency, they wouldn't have to worry about ever losing power. Pressing the button for the top floor, they began to ascend. Temari leaned against the wall, the vibrations from the elevator working, feeling good against her back. So what about the rest of the tower? The second and third floors are being furnished and reserved for the future civilian bureaucrat business and civilian law enforcement. It's coming along, but we haven't needed it yet. The fourth and fifth floors are going to be for ninja business, so mission intake and assignment along with record storage. Tsunami motioned down with a finger as well. There will be sublevels for more secure storage as well, but again, not under my management. Tsunami hummed a bit as the lights on the control board moved from the 5th floor to the 6th. From here to the 10th floors are going to be utilized for civilian businesses. I've been seeing that civilian businesses needed to be abnormally close to the city center and the admin building. So in order to bring in some money, we'll be leasing out spaces here. Generate money and provide space for work for your civilians. Smart. We try. Above that, the 11th through 13th floors are fake. Fake? Why waste the resources on fake floors? Tsunami shrugged. Something Naruto and Koyuki decided on with my father, something about buffer floors between everyone else and the Uzumaki estate on the upper levels. They'll be furnished as in tower relaxation areas and to provide a good view for tourists and the like. For now, this is going to be the tallest tower in Yuzu, so you can see pretty much everything from here. Reaching the 13th floor, the elevator pauses and dings, the door opening and Tsunami holding out a hand to keep Temari from leaving. They're greeted by a wide open space with glass windows and an amazing view, but not much else. Tsunami removes a slip of paper from her pocket and presses it against the button panel. It chimes again and the door closes, and they continue upward. Can't have just anyone able to reach the mansion, of course. Plus the Uzumaki family has other means to reach their home anyway. Finally reaching the 14th floor, they open up into a large foyer where they can see staircases on their left and right with a wide hallway stretching out ahead of them. And this is the Uzumaki mansion. The space was brightly lit and felt inviting. Warm. They can hear people's voices echoing from somewhere, and while Temari looked around the luxuriously well-done space, they almost missed Tayuya walking across the hall from one doorway to another. Yo Red! Temari's voice calls out. Tayuya pauses, looking back and spotting the pair. Yo fangirl. Tsunami. She waved a hand for the two to follow her. We're all settling in for a short meeting, come join us. They followed after her, down the hall to pass on their left an open doorway showing a massive dining room while on their right another door showed a larger-than-life kitchen. At the end they opened up into a large seating area, their living room, where across several couches and seating cushions everyone was chatting away with each other. Here Temari can see all of the currently known Uzumaki. Tayuya has jumped over the back of one couch, joining Karen and Ino in a talk about something weapon-related, though there were a lot of weapons magazines out mixed with some clothing-related ones. In front of them at a low table, Naruto sat flanked by Koyuki and Hinata, going over paperwork and pointing at things back and forth. Naruto seemed frustrated and also seconds from flipping the table. On another couch Yugo was flanked by Kin and Sasami, one girl trying to feed him while the other was trying to get him to drink something. Both were occasionally firing death glares at the other while Yugo pretended not to notice. The last of the group was Kotoheim, who was on another couch reading from a book until she looked up and noticed the newly arrived pair. The fangirl is here. That got everyone's attention. Temari. Fangirl. The greetings were all a mix of the usual, though her eyebrow twitched at the double meaning behind her nickname. So she made a pass at Naruto once or twice. She worked hard, damn it. What's all the hubbub about? She's looking at the group with Naruto, while Hinata leans back with a sigh. Funds. Our industry is coming along and things are getting better, but we're going to need an influx of cash to provide a much-needed cushion, and soon. Farms and spring are coming along, but we're still having to import food, and Wave has been doing a great job of coming up with the money through shipping. But it's going to come up short soon, we fear. From her spot next to Yugo, Kin leans forward. I vote we start taking down some bounties for now, make a name for ourselves so we can start getting some missions from outside our borders. Sure, closed system economy sounded nice, until things stagnated. They needed to pull money in from elsewhere if they wanted to continue to grow. Across from her, Sasami takes the chance to lean against Yugo, who blushes. There are some missions available through T, we could work through those. Koyuki follows Hinata's lead, leaning back away from the table with a smile. Taida from the land of hot water also has some work that needs doing as well. Naruto finally has it, hands scrubbing through his hair, before he flops down on the floor. There's enough of us, we should just do everything. We can hit missions and bounty hunting and put together a team to head out to hot water while another stays here to defend Yuzu. Ino has a Senbon out, cleaning her nails with the end. The Chinoite clan has been wanting to get to work soon. This could be a good time to put them to use doing something. Their head, N, said something about a half-baked plan they had considered before coming here. Naruto's eyes went wide as he had nearly forgotten his scouting trips to the other islands. I need to talk to them too. One of the islands has a spring that has conditions pretty close to where they used to live, though much more livable. They might like it. Through it all, Temari finally shakes her head. Even running a nation, Naruto was just as chaotic as ever. Stepping forward, she pulled a letter free from her kimono and handed it to Naruto, leaning over and intentionally giving him a decent view. From my brother, also with a message. The Kazekage would like an official visit from you sometime soon. Naruto blinks and accepts the letter, eventually shaking himself and unsealing 2 new Hiraishin tags to hand over to the other blonde. Make sure those make it somewhere safe. I'd suggest one in your Kage tower and the other in your clan home. Temari smirked and nodded, stepping back. Will do. Guess I'll make myself useful for the next couple of days before I have to head back. Tayuya shook her head. No way, bitch. You should stay with us. Hang out, relax, then you can head home. Ino agreed. Trust us, once you get Naruto working again, he just won't stop. This'll be the last bit of relaxation we'll have for a while. Naruto grumbled, I'm not that bad. Hinata turned calm eyes down to him. What did it take in order for you to agree to relax for the last 3 months? Naruto's eyes crossed as he thought about that. We holed up in a hot spring resort for 2 days. Ino giggled, the memories overwhelming her in moments. I couldn't walk straight for days. Lucky bitches. Temari noted that the same sentiment came from multiple people all at once. She didn't let it faze her, but she was curious, however, because she was sure Tsunami's mouth was moving as well. Huh. Hinata placed a soft hand on Naruto's chest. You've indulged us, and we've actually relaxed for 3 solid months. It's about time to get back into the swing of things. Ino mumbled, swings. Tayuya turned predatory eyes on Naruto. Do I have to go second form and tie you down? As another well-hashed conversation begins, Temari shrugs. Staying for a few days doesn't sound so bad. Tsunami giggled. You'll have to get used to a certain custom of the Uzumakis while you're here. Can't be that bad. Tsunami turned to head into the kitchen, feeling peckish. We shall see. Scene change, far away towards the heart of Fire Country. Tsunade is standing on a platform built by the efforts of several Earth Chakra users. A crowd of civilians and ninja before her, as behind her 5 people are held to their knees, bound and gagged. Amplifying her voice, she decides today needs to be done and over with. Citizens of Konoha, by now some of you have questioned and taken notice that some notable ninja have been on extended leave, and our daimyo has made several trips to and from the village. Today I stand before you to lay rumors to rest. Behind me are traitors to the Leaf Village, guilty of defrauding and stealing from a prominent Konoha clan and enriching themselves for their own personal gain. Those actions led to an assassination attempt that had one of our beloved clans fleeing for their safety. Now found guilty by trail, there is only one punishment for treason in the land of fire. Throwing a hand and turning to motion to the group, Tsunade steals her heart, death by fire. Our ancestors believed that through this act their sins would be cleansed away, their souls released to be judged by the kami. Today we will see that done. Stepping away and out of the line of fire, she listens as the crowd offers their own thoughts and emotions on the matter. Honestly, she wasn't surprised someone had linked the explosion at Naruto's apartment with the boy no longer in the village. Eventually, some of the people who had been saved by the boy had gotten curious and had started to ask questions. Questions that couldn't be answered right away. It had all culminated into this: people nearly worked into a rage over one of their village's saviors run out of the village over council members' greed. While Naruto hadn't asked for their deaths, the people surely were. Watching the waiting for Umbu to take up their positions, Tsunade raises a hand. Quiet takes over the square, until she lowers her hand as that of the executioner's axe. 5 Umbu members release grand fireball techniques, incinerating the bound prisoners on the spot. The stone construction holds up as it should, and after 10 seconds the techniques are released, nothing but ashes left that are soon blown away in the wind. Tsunade returns to the center of the stage, the Umbu remaining at her back. I hope each and every one of you can take this lesson to heart. Konoha is many things, but we will not tolerate traitors, especially when harm is done to our own. The will of fire does not include those who hold malice or greed in their hearts. Keep true to our teachings, and rekindle your spirits. Here she bows to the people before standing tall. That is the end to this. Please return to your duties or your day. With that she turned to leave, dismissing the Umbu back to their own duties, now that the execution was complete. Someone would be there soon, to return the stage back to its place in the ground. Among the crowd, the general sentiment was positive towards the Hokage. Several commented that she seemed stronger now, more in control of things. Some wished that she had done this sooner, while others mentioned that it was good that she followed the law as she did, which meant it probably took time. Overall, while an execution of civilians was never wanted, everyone knew it was necessary, while some hoped this meant they were on the path to having their lost clan return. Tsunade wasn't worried about any of that, joined and flanked by Shizune and Kakashi as she returned to her office within the tower. Not a word was exchanged between the three on the way up. Waiting until they reached her office, Shizune locking the door behind them while Tsunade reached her chair and nearly fell into it with a heavy sigh. What a clusterfuck. Tsunade-sama. Oh hush Shizune, you know it is. Tsunade watched the two before her before sighing heavily and reaching into her desk. Kakashi. Yes, Lord Hokage? I have a mission for you and your team if you're up for it. Seeing him nod, she holds out a scroll and waits for him to take it. In the land of honey, the daimyo's wife Kao has gone missing. I want your team to look into it and give us a good showing. Kakashi nods and tucks the scroll away. We'll get it done. Anything else? Seeing Tsunade shake her head, the man turns to leave. He shares a look with Shizune for a brief moment before he is soon gone and out the door, leaving the pair of women alone. One of which is leering at the other with a smirk. Oh ho, what's this? Something going on between my oldest apprentice and the resident heartthrob? Watching Shizune blush and stammer lifted her heart somewhat. Maybe there was hope for the younger woman yet. Well. Shizune finally gave up and took a deep breath. We've talked, had a few dates. It's not serious just yet. We're just happy our plotting friends have left us alone for now. Tsunade shrugs, starting back into her never-ending paperwork. Well, I hope you take this seriously. You deserve to find your own happiness. Here Tsunade seems to wilt a bit, especially having to put up with an old washout like me for so many years. Seeing Shizune trying to spin herself up to defending her, Tsunade waved her off. No. I wasted years of not just my life, but yours as well. You deserve to find whatever happiness you can while we're here. I don't want to uproot us again without a real good reason. Shizune leans forward. You deserve happiness as well, Lady Tsunade. Why, don't think I haven't noticed you've actually been nice to Lord Jiraiya. Tsunade grins. Pervert retraining is a constant effort. Don't you worry about that. Shizune shivered and hoped she never learned what sort of efforts that required. Well, just don't forget, you deserve love as well. Tsunade pauses from her work, looking at her apprentice. Well, my advice to you? Better snatch up Kakashi while you can. Never know. I've been so lonely lately, maybe I could break him in a bit for you? Cackling as Shizune retreated, claiming her teasing was too much. Scoring a point for herself mentally, the old woman did truly hope her dedicated student did something for herself soon. This world of theirs was harsh enough. Best to find what love and happiness they could while they could. Not everyone made it to old age after all. Speaking of, maybe she would share a drink or two with Jiraiya the next time he was in town. Getting back to work, idly reminding herself that she had a message to pass along to Naruto later about the fire daimyo, she settled in for another long day. Scene change. Nighttime in Uzushio was an interesting time for many. The street lights dimmed after a certain hour, the nights were usually clear to reveal the star-filled sky, and for many who were winding down it was wonderful to sit out and just enjoy the atmosphere. For the Uzumaki family, that usually meant their slowly becoming most enjoyable tradition. Family bathing. Tazuna had heard about their little gatherings and had decided to go all out on their bath. The top floor had been split into two halves. The front half was the access stairs, the changing rooms, as well as showers, a sauna, and a steam room. The rear half was dedicated completely to a large swimming pool-sized space. A long bank of one-way windows gave them a view of the city and the outside world, while above them a glass roof gave them a clear view of the night sky. Tonight's gathering, however, was soon to be joined by a serene Tsunami and a relaxed Temari as they walked out of the changing room and came out into the large bath. Temari had her eyes closed as she breathed in the heated steam that smelled of either lilacs or jasmine. This is nice. Temari was removing her towel as she opened her eyes, ready to relax with all the girls and maybe gossip a bit. On display, she paused as she locked eyes with Naruto, a smirking Koyuki in his lap. Naruto raised a hand, yo. He was doing his best not to react to the woman sitting sideways in his lap, but he was failing. Blush now at full power, her towel was immediately closed. What? Tsunami, however, was lowering herself into the water, towel folded up and joined in a line with many others. I did warn you. The Uzumaki love to bathe all together. It's actually becoming something of a social norm in Uzushio. Many of the civilians were emulating the Uzumaki family, for better or worse. She had heard more than a few worries about children wanting to take up explosive arts like their lord Naruto. Yeah, guess you did. Temari had a debate with herself, before she did much of the same, eventually removing and folding away her towel and joining Tsunami in the bath. Somehow I feel like your description could have been more detailed. Karen is grinning as she overheard the other woman. Where's the fun in that? From her lap perch, Koyuki looks around a bit. So we're slotting the next month to work on missions and bounty hunting. Should we discuss that for a moment? Something hotter than the water was starting to press against her, and she was doing her best not to let on she knew what she was doing to Naruto. Heh. Naruto picks up the conversation, eyes moving away from the usual wrestling match between Ino and Tayuya. He waves a hand towards Yugo. Since the Land of Tea has requests for us, I think it's best if Yugo, Kin, and Sasami handle that. Plus any bounties that might be in the area while they are there. Naruto winked at Sasami. I know you aren't an Uzumaki, but you'll help out Yugo, right? Sasami blushed but nodded, of course. Everyone could tell she had feelings for the bigger teen, even if she hadn't come out and said it, yet. Is the plan still to share some of the missions with the Fuma clan? Naruto nods. That was the agreement. We share missions, and what profits we get from those shared missions. We want to make friends and allies. That also means making sure our allies are doing well. He didn't want a repeat of the meltdown between Suna and Konoha. Tayuya pipes up, pulling Ino's arms back while a foot was in the small of her back. Me, Karen, and Kotoheim can go hunt down some bounties. We're probably the most self-sufficient grouping outside of you. Unless you're going to do some bounty hunting. She had to defend herself as Ino eventually twisted free and turned the tides on her. Naruto shakes his head, wrapping an arm around Koyuki, both to bring her closer to him and to also stop her maddening wiggling. There's a request from the Land of Hot Water that might require lots of manpower. So I'll be handling that one with Ino and Hinata. Tayuya pouted. Those two get to go to a hot spring again? Lame. I wanna go. Naruto smirked. How about if your group brings in some good bounties, or even better, if anyone finds another ninja clan to bring in, we'll go to Hot Spring for a vacation during our next break period. That amped up Tayuya instantly, throwing Ino off of her as she pumped a fist in the air. Hell yeah. I want pampering and relaxation too. Karen rolled her eyes. You act like Naruto doesn't pamper you. Tayuya chuckled. Well, I mean, yeah he does. But vacations are different, you know? Ino latched onto her back and both girls disappeared into the water. Taking in the controlled chaos with a smile, Temari finally speaks up, staying low enough in the waters to keep things covered but offer a view nonetheless. Please make sure, Naruto, you need to visit my brother at least once sometime this month. Naruto nods. Will do. Get those seals placed and I'll come when I have a few days free. Naruto gains a thoughtful look. After this next month, this might be one of the last times I've got the free time to be outside of the city. Especially as we start building up ninja forces. Tsunami nods at that, working hard not to doze off in the happy atmosphere. You'll have to be more present soon in the day-to-day operations of the city. At least until we come up with a civilian governance body. She'd need to get on building that up, she needed an Uzushio counterpart. Yeah, I know. I have to thank you and your father, you've been some major help through all of this. Tsunami waved him off, we're your people my lord. Though father has said if you want to thank him, then fill these halls with little feet soon and he'll call it even. Naruto coughed while in his lap. Koyuki made a show of leaning into Naruto more fully. Oh, we'll get right on that, Tsunami. No worries. Several of the other girls blush, but it's Kotoheim who begins to wade towards them. I wouldn't mind assisting with that now as well. Hold on there, Mega Milk, there's an order here. An order? Karen looked out the window, watching a large serpentine shadow move through their coastal waters. Reminded of the conversation with Tazuna, she began to make her way forward as well. I think it's more of a first-come first-serve. Tayuya was already tossing Ino away. It's we're gonna brawl over it, let me dash second form coming out, she smirked, slip into something more appropriate. All the good food on a more regular basis was helping her fill out much more appropriately. Naruto certainly liked the view. Tsunami sighed as she began to pull Temari away, who was watching the ensuing brawl gearing up. Is it always like this? Temari was asking while wondering if she wanted to get in on this soon. More or less. Usually Naruto ends up making clones and placating the girls with massages and back rubs. True to Tsunami's words, Naruto did just that, a crew of clones taking each of the girls and taking them to lay out on the tiles to be attended to. Koyuki small smile as she leaned down to kiss the boy softly. Temari and Tsunami were approached by their own towel-clad blondes. You'll get used to it, maybe. Tsunami was happy to be led away. Sure, she wasn't a member of Fox Den, but getting pampered never hurt. Temari took the offered hand and let herself be led off to the side to get a back rub, idly noting that Yugo, Kin, and Sasami were all blushing and talking to each other quietly. Huh. Skinship was big with the Uzumaki, wasn't it? When in Rome, she supposed. And she'd need to ask about that fox head tattoo on Tayuya's ass. It looked similar to the one on Hinata's lower back that she could see. Scene change. In a different tower hundreds of miles away, Nagato and Konan stood alone in his office while Haiden and Kakuzu left after giving them a new update on civilian villages. Their next mission would be a bounty hunt job, which should keep them busy for a while. Nagato sighed, something is moving in the background. Konan nodded, do you think it's something to worry about? We're just about ready to start really making a push to start capturing the Biju and sealing them away. She thought back to Itachi and Kisame's encounter with the blonde container of the Kyuubi. That of course led to Daidara's plea that they capture the boy and not seal his Biju. I'm not sure yet. It's why I also sent out Sasori and Daidara to have a look around. Someone is making waves with civilians, saving them, moving them away from combat zones. Nagato frowned only slightly. Someone was changing things, better for the civilians, but the ninja villages were beginning to catch on and it was bothering them. As if less people suffering was a bad thing. Do you want me to look into it? She wouldn't mind getting out of the tower for a while, maybe be paired up with one of the others. She wouldn't mind trying to drag Itachi along with her. Nagato could feel the woman's emotions inside. Maybe he would need to help out his longest-living friend. Possibly, but we need to have a better idea of where things are going first before we move. Building a weapon so terrible it puts the major villages at a pause is a massive undertaking all on its own. But it was here his thoughts strayed, thinking it over. Someone was saving people, preaching peace, while also being willing to kill. If more civilians can get behind those hopes. Maybe a few of the villages as well? Would they even need to go through with this? For the first time in a long time, he was unsure. For now, I've heard both rumors going around the country of Wave and the country of Spring. Here he looked Conan in the eyes, head to Wave, alone, and have a look around discreetly. Then return, I don't want you gone for long, and avoid conflict at all cost. It'll be done. With that she left the office as well, travel plans filling her head. Maybe she could stop over in the Land of Tea, pick up some of their special blends. Guess this also meant she'd have to ditch her usual attire if Nagato wanted her to keep things quiet. What should she wear? So many decisions to make. Omake Tayuya was finding herself spending more and more time helping out around Uzushio whenever it came to requests involving children. As such, today at one of the local schools, they had needed an extra hand watching over the children during their recess period. Happy to help, she was sitting on a hill overlooking the schoolyard while rowdy children ran back and forth, playing with each other. Behind her, Naruto has arms around her neck, hands laced with her own as he embraced her and relaxed under the noon sun. This is nice. His voice was quiet, but she heard it clear as day. There was an emotion there she couldn't place, but she had a feeling it was much like her own. A note of longing, lost opportunities. She grips his hands a little tighter, you know. Maybe having kids wouldn't be so bad. She had a lot of worry surrounding being an actual mother. Unsure if she would be worthy, or even good at it. Naruto hugged her a bit tighter. If that's your wish, we'll make it happen one day. Thankfully she couldn't see his blush, but he did lean forward to kiss the top of her head. Hearing her coo told him that was the correct thing to do. So do you want me normal, or maybe we should go at it with my curse form? She couldn't see his face, but she knew there was a blush there all the same. Naruto hums before shrugging, you know, I love you, no matter what form you're in. You don't have to use it to get my attention. Unless you want to, of course. I'll never complain either way. Flush finally reaching her face, the normally outspoken girl shook her head, sweet talking shit. Your lucky kids are here. Speaking of the little devils, a group of them were sprinting towards them. Tayuya-sensei. Come play with us. Tayuya pounced up, leaving Naruto alone and pointed towards him in a dramatic fashion. Actually, Lord Naruto needs lots of hugs and teasing right now. Get him. Hi. Naruto barely had a chance to make it to his knees before he fell under an avalanche of children. Traitor. He was lost to laughter as the kids attempted to hold him down and tickle him to death. He was getting better at humoring them, just as Tayuya had. Tayuya herself just watched the sight while several of the teachers just shook their heads and one fretted about their lord. Tayuya tuned them out, humming and walking back towards the school with one thought in her mind. She was going to ride that man until one of them broke one day. Chapter 34. Naruto wasn't one to believe in omens or fate. If anything, he was someone who fought against those superstitions almost fanatically. As the sky slowly became more and more overcast as the day went on, he was starting to wonder. Masks on while he read over the mission scroll again, he frowned as they walked along. On either side of him, Ino and Hinata took in the hilly countryside that they found themselves traveling. Apparently Taida, the land of hot water daimyo, was concerned about his neighbor, the land of frost. Citizens from the neighboring country have been seeking asylum in greater numbers, and it was becoming a problem. At first it had been minor, something that looked like normal immigration. A few months, however, and it had started to become a serious burden on Hot Springs' economy. So here they were to inspect whether there was some emergency going on, from a famine to possibly some epidemic. It was more concerning as well that Taida hadn't heard from the Frost Daimyo about the situation. So here the team was, a letter of admittance from Taida as they traveled an empty road. Moving north as they were, the weather was rapidly beginning to cool, snow covering the hills while in the distance they could make out snow-covered mountain ranges. That most likely was the border with lightning in the distance, but they shouldn't need to go that far. Coming up and over a hill, they could look down into a valley to see the daimyo palace itself, surrounded by farmland and a smaller village not far off. Should we inspect the village first, before we talk to the daimyo? Hinata leaned in to ask quietly. Something in the air was bothering her. None of the people they had passed on the way here looked healthy. Malnourished, desperate in some cases. But oddly not sickly. At least not visibly. Naruto nodded, yeah. I want to talk to the people first, before the daimyo. Naruto's eyes raked over the palace, taking in the lights and what looked like multiple smoke trails from chimneys. The village, however, was dark, not nearly as many cook fires from homes. He was beginning to get the same vibe from the place as Hinata was. Let's go. Ino pulled the hood up on her dark blue cloak, matching the others. It looks like it'll start raining any minute, or snowing, I guess. Going from the warm seaside climate of Yuzu to this was miserable as far as she was concerned. But they needed to build a reputation and make some money, so she shouldn't complain too much. At least she was getting more alone time with Naruto. Down into the valley they went, angling first to the village, to mingle about the villagers. There they split up and began to question the locals for information. Ino first runs into a mother helping her daughter on their porch, working on her makeup and helping clean and brush her hair. Ino is curious, and comes up to ask them since they're the first people she's really seen moving about. "Excuse me. Can I ask you something?" The mother looked up towards the masked woman, fearful at first, but calming as she doesn't see a frost headband anywhere. Of course Ninja-san, what would you have of me?" Ino looks around slowly. Why do things seem so run down here? There has been a larger than normal amount of people leaving Frost. The mother nods, going back to brushing her daughter's hair. "We've been receiving larger and larger taxes as of late. The daimyo hasn't said why, only sending out his ninja to make sure he gets paid. One way or another." The last part was mumbled, but pausing here she puts her brush in her mouth as she works her daughter's hair into a delicate and intricate hairstyle. The daughter picks up her story however, looking straight ahead with no emotion in her dark eyes. "The best you can hope for right now is to gain the daimyo's favor. That's where I'm headed, to hopefully become one of his women, to at least earn some pay." Ino shuddered internally, before bowing to the two. "I understand, thank you. I won't bother you anymore." She turned and left, off to look around some more. Things were bad enough that families were selling off their children. Ino shook her head to free herself of her thoughts of judgment. This wasn't Konoha. Things like this happened in the smaller countries, even if she felt like it shouldn't. Something must be going on right for the daimyo to be taxing his people so much. Hinata was in much of the same boat, having just run across some children who claimed to not have eaten in days. It was easy for her to hand over several ration bars to them, easily getting answers that there was a food shortage and not everyone was eating. The kids didn't understand it, the adults mentioning something about a hard crop harvest and poor weather. Hinata sent the children off with a wave, weaving through the closely built homes and using her Byakugan to link back up with Naruto and Ino. So there was a famine, but that still didn't account for why the daimyo apparently wasn't requesting aid. Naruto had found himself sitting on a barrel while chatting with a group of men. "So the harvest was weak this year?" "Yeah son, real grubby. And now the snow is a-comin' and we've got no stockpiles for the winter months." The older man, bald and gray, spit on the ground. "The ninja keeps squeezing us for money we don't have and the promise of imported food never comes. We're gonna die at this rate." Another man was sitting on the ground, looking into the dirt. "My family has been here for generations. I don't want to just pack up and leave." "Might not have a choice sonny, think of that wife of yours." They all devolved into bickering back and forth, but Naruto got enough info out of it to nod and make his way back towards the road where he could see Ino and Hinata waiting. Linking back up with them within a moment, he waved a hand. "Daimyo is taxing the hell out of them." Naruto's tone shows that he is more than a little upset over this. Ino can agree. Hinata points to the fields surrounding the village. Harvest was very weak this year and a famine has set in. Sickness is beginning to set in as well. In the more tightly packed area of the village, Hinata had been inspecting things with her Byakugan thoroughly. Several people were stuck in their homes, weak and ill. With people weak from hunger, it didn't bode well for their immune systems. If something didn't change fast, these people were going to die in droves. It would be a race between starvation or illness that did it. Naruto started walking, the palace visible on a hill overlooking the village, not even a full mile away. "Then it's time to get straight to the source." Ino lightly touched his shoulder. "What will you do?" "Our mission was just to observe." Naruto shrugged. "Since when do I ever do just the minimum?" Ino nodded. "Good. I wanted to make sure we weren't going to just leave these people to suffer." She thought back to that mother and daughter, the dead look in their eyes. She didn't want to see anyone with that hollow visage ever again if she could help it. In this instance, they could. On they went, making their way publicly along the road towards the traditional-looking palace, while Naruto considered just what he would do. This country needed help, and they were already somewhat in the red with their own people. Maybe there was a chance something was going on behind the scenes, and the daimyo was doing the best they could do. Naruto couldn't put it past himself that maybe his judgment was off because of his hatred of anything political or controlling. Taking a breath and exhaling steam, he decided to give the daimyo the benefit of doubt and held out hope that there was a reason for this suffering. Getting onto and in the palace grounds was rather easy. They had a scroll with the hot springs daimyo's seal, which let them through. The grounds were well kept within the walls, and as they were led by a ninja guard inside the main building, they had their first look at just where some of the tax money seemed to be going. In the front rooms there seemed to be a gathering in full swing, good food and full tables, what looked like local lords and ladies dining together as they passed multiple rooms. The group removed and sealed away their cloaks, no longer needing them in the warm and stuffy building. Naruto's mood soured quickly watching it all, not needing the abilities of the emotional sensing mask to tell him just what these people were like. They were finally led to a larger hall, a banquet in full swing where at the head of the table they could see a shorter older man, frost headband firmly in place and gleaming, and surrounded by geisha and well-done ladies. Hinata leaned close to Naruto. He has a headband, but little chakra. Not a ninja. Ino leaned in as well. What are the odds that's the Frost Daimyo? Naruto shook his head as they were led around the table and to the daimyo's side. No bet, this all reeks of corruption. Everything about the interior of the palace screamed a mixture of gluttony and opulence. So much for giving the daimyo the benefit of the doubt. Off to the side Naruto idly spied another taller blonde man in a standard special forces mask. Mask left blank, the ninja was being attended to by two young ladies who had smiles that did not reach their eyes. The daimyo was laughing, having just whispered into one of the finely done geisha's ear while the woman giggled and smacked his hand away from her. He was sure to have taken it as flirty, while all of the ninja present knew better. Eventually, his eyes landed on the group, eyes crossing a bit as he tried to focus on them. Who are you? Naruto stepped forward, holding up the scroll from the hot springs daimyo and showing a seal there. We're here on behalf of the land of hot water. Apparently there has been a massive wave of people leaving your country and we have been sent to find out the cause. The daimyo grumbled, mood beginning to sour at the nosy busybodies. Well, if they left, they weren't really my people, were they? The frost people are a proud type, they'd never fold to a little bad weather. Now leave, you've seen things, and you can see I'm doing just fine. No need for concern. Naruto sealed the scroll away, hands calmly at his sides as he thought that over. Yeah, there's a problem with that. Eh? Lazy eyes turned back to the boy before him. Who dared to talk back to him? Naruto, however, was beginning to grin behind his mask. See, the problem is that the people are suffering. That suffering is leaking out to other countries, and now we can see for ourselves it's all rooted in your quest to live comfortably and enjoy a luxury you really don't deserve. What gives you the right to force your people to suffer? People you are supposed to lead? Right? Ha 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 ha. The boy talks about my rights. He laughs louder, drawing the room's attention as he finally waves the courtesans away from him, clearing the space except for one woman that he draws into his lap. You have a lot of nerve, boy. Playing dress up and standing before me as if you could lecture me. Bringing a hand up he snaps his fingers, the man in the corner standing and coming to rest at the daimyo's side. I have all of the divine right that any daimyo has to make decisions for my people. Those decisions must be made with a clear heart and mind, and that requires rest. Hands disappearing into the geisha's clothing, the blush and grimace on her face tells Naruto and the girls exactly how she feels about it. This all means I must be stress-free. Get it? And you? You're stressing me out, boy. Naruto shakes his head. Well, true to our word, our mission was to just confirm the situation and report, nothing more or less. He had no intention of following through with that, but goading this old bastard on would probably get him to fly off the handle first. Hopefully. He didn't want to leave things as they were. We'll take our leave then. Leave? Another chuckle. No, boy. Another snap and the room is completely cleared of everyone except Ninja and the geisha in his lap. You won't be leaving here now. You know too much. Here's a new offer, you can submit yourself to me, your little girls can join my harem, and we'll call your lives payment. Sound fair? The daimyo licked his lips as his eyes roamed over Hinata and Ino. Or you can die, your choice. Naruto was willing to put up with insults to himself, absolutely. It wasn't the worst that had ever been said to him after all. Watching the daimyo roam his eyes over his girls, however, set off something ugly in his chest. Hand slowly coming up, his mask changing from the happy Onaman to the manic red Hanya mask, Naruto shook his head. Yeah. I'm gonna have to blow you and all your friends away then. No one is touching them. Ha 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 ha, are you daft, boy? You pretender. You think you're the maelstrom when I've got the real thing right here. Motioning to his side, the taller blonde puffed his chest out a bit, a holder of the explosion bloodline, a true wielder of chaos. What hope do you have of touching me? Ino can't help but giggle out loud, and on Naruto's other side, Hinata's shoulders shake, but not much else. Why were you laughing? Have you fallen for this boy's lies that deeply? Stupid women can never think for themselves. He snaps another finger, kill the boy, capture the girls. Whoever brings me his head can have whichever one they want to themselves for the night. They'll make good meat sleeves for the rank and file later. Several ninja surge forward but Ino reacts faster, Senbon spearing forward to drop 4 men before she surges into the group, earth chakra pumping through her system being used to strengthen herself and toughen her skin. Opposite her, Hinata utilizes her mask's features, building a barrier to block the kunai strikes of 3 ninja before jumping into taijutsu range. Dropping the barrier, she quickly performs several juken strikes to each of them in order to paralyze and leave them helpless. She has to keep on the move, creating barriers to keep her back clear while using her natural flexibility to make strikes that none of the others can block. Several ice shuriken smash against her blue barrier and hold, and she watches as the attacker receives several senbon in the back for their trouble. Behind them both Naruto had unsealed his sword and was slashing forward in a high arc designed to hit the daimyo but spare the woman in his grasp. He was blocked by a Fuma shuriken held by the taller blonde opposite of him, though he was struggling. "This all you got, kid?" The strain was evident in his voice. Naruto made several clones with a thought, 2 coming forward to lay glowing hands on his opponent's chest. Time to see who the real maelstrom is, huh pal? Low-level explosions knocking the enemy ninja away. Naruto watched as 2 clones had already captured the daimyo and were holding him down with the woman being ushered away to safety by another clone. "I'll deal with you in a minute." Jumping forward, he swung his sword hard, futon, de tappa. The blast of wind knocked the ninja through the wall and out into another hall, and Naruto was quick to follow him with a cackle, "Let's have some fun." And then he was gone. Behind him Ino and Hinata are being forced to work back to back. Hinata is creating temporary barriers to keep away the frost ninja while Ino is putting them down with her poison senbon and the occasional low-yield exploding kunai. Hopping away as one of the frost ninja tries to capture her, his hand meets the floor and a layer of frost is left behind. Oh great, they freeze things now. Hinata frowned as she dropped one barrier, again surging forward and striking one opponent 3 times in the legs. Jumping away, she watched as the man convulsed and his legs cramped up hard. She heard the snap of bone and knew he wouldn't be getting back up for a while. That looks like it hurt. Rolling backwards over a ducking Ino, she was there to first disable an outstretched arm with several more well-placed strikes while next creating a barrier behind her newest prey. Behind her she missed Ino laying a massive punch into the chest of a burly-looking man who was immediately folded over her fist and launched into the wall. Having room to breath, Ino flipped her hair away from her face. Easy work. Hinata grins behind her mask, how boorish. You're one to talk, little Miss Milk Jugs. Jealousy doesn't behoove you, Ino. Hinata looked around, Byakugan activating to show that indeed the room was empty. Taking a deep breath to steady herself, Hinata joined Ino in walking up to the captive daimyo. Ino is cracking her knuckles with a smile on her face. What was that about wanting to make meat sleeves out of us? From a wall panel, a frost ninja attempts to get the drop on them, releasing several kunai-shaped ice projectiles at the girls. Hinata erects a barrier, chakra beginning to get low but she's able to block them, while Ino holds up a finger, chakra welling in her eyes. Something new for you. Releasing the technique, a modified version of her clan technique that did no more than scramble the pathways in her target's brain. Unconscious before he hit the floor, they were again truly alone. Huffing, Ino turned to Hinata, "You didn't catch that one?" "Blind spot." "Ah." Ino nodded, going about the room to tie up and pile all of the enemy ninja together while the daimyo began to rant and rave. "Who are you brats? The hot water daimyo didn't send you, you're here rob me, aren't you? What do you want? Gold, jewels, money? Take it." Hinata walked up to him, chakra welling up in her hand. The maelstrom was telling the truth. He and us Riptide members were only here to observe the situation. She leaned closer, causing the man to flinch. "You've made a grave error this day." Bravado failing before the threat this girl was putting off, the daimyo shook his head. No, no, no. See? That fake, yeah, that fake. He was the one who was ordering me around. He looked between the clones and Hinata, nodding quickly. He turned back to the girl. He said he was the maelstrom, exploded some of my ninja and threatened my people. I had to do what he said is all, that's all. Hinata stepped away, already mentally done with the coward. Your fate now rests with the maelstrom, not I. Checking their surroundings again, she frowned as more ninja were gathering in the courtyard. Incoming. Both of the remaining clones rose to her sides, one tossing a suppression seal on the daimyo to keep him from moving. One clone looked to the other. Should we try a bait and switch? Oh, that plan? We haven't had a chance to try that out yet, have we? Now would be fun. Ino finished her self-imposed task, piling all of their groaning enemies against a far wall, before walking over. Do we want to know? Clone 1 grinned. Nah, it'll ruin the surprise. Clone 2 made a ram sign, transforming into the guise that was the very likeness of Tsunade dressed in a fairly loose kimono, if she were perhaps 20 years younger. Oh, this'll be good. Clone 1 followed her lead, transforming into one of the basic frost ninja before Clone 2 leapt into his arms and pretended to be knocked out, assets just barely held in. Operation Get Help in effect. Ino sighed. I'm so telling Tsunade-sama when we see her again. Ino also had to question, just how did Naruto know her well enough to be able to transform into her, and copy her voice? That was a situation worth looking into. Clone 1 saluted over his shoulder. She'd find this funny as hell. Hinata shook her head. They're gathering in the courtyard. Thanks. And then the clones were gone through the front main doors. Ino sighed. Should we be worried? Hinata nodded. For the frost ninja most likely. The room rattled, and both girls turned back to the hole in the wall Naruto had disappeared through. He should be about finished soon. Through said hole Naruto has having a blast, sword arcing out in tight swings and quick jabs. His faker retreated quickly. He apparently truly was a holder of the explosion bloodline, able to turn anything his chakra interacted with into an explosive. Fun, but a downside he was finding. As Naruto avoided a downward foot stomp from the man with a shunshin that placed him at the man's back, the floor exploding before Naruto caught him with a swing of the Kubikiri Bocho. There was a second of resistance, before Naruto cleaved through a broken section of floor, a quick kawarimi saving the man. Well, not completely, as the line of blood across his middle was any sign when Naruto caught sight of him again through the smoke. Give it up, kid. You have no chance against the Maelstrom. I wanted to just humor you, but it's time to go. Naruto paused and tilted his head. What do you know about the Maelstrom? What? I am the Maelstrom. What kind of question is that? Surging forward with a shunshin, a glowing hand missing Naruto and hits the wall, Naruto himself dodging away with ease. His enemy was much slower than his clones. See, problem is. I know you aren't. 1. The Maelstrom is just some kid from Konoha. You're a little big for that. Swinging the Kubikiri Bocho like a bat, he released another futon, Daitapa at the man to fling him away. 2. Your eyes are the wrong color. Naruto dodged away from another grab attempt, the wall exploding behind him as he hopped away. 3. Well. He applied chakra to his eye, making sure to hold eye contact with the man. The look of dread that crossed his face was priceless. You're. Oh come on, if you're gonna fake it being me, at least be good at it. Eyes blazing, Naruto made a new brace of clones and sent them after the man. An explosion blocked his view for a moment in the hallway, before he cleared it with an application of wind chakra and revealed the man panting and bleeding in the middle of another great hall. Walking forward with his sword on his shoulder, Naruto sighed. You're no fun. Your explosions aren't artful at all. There's no flash. No excitement. Boo. 0 stars. Boo. You're insane. Insane? Naruto tilted his head and nodded. Probably. Here Naruto leapt forward again, sprinting within range, to begin slashing and hacking in the wider space. The explosion user did his best to defend himself, applying chakra to the floor when he could to create distance, and sometimes tried using the very walls. When that failed, he tried to snag Naruto's sword, which had said boy grinning, "Oh, you must love shrapnel." What? The explosion from several seals lined through the sword caught him full in the chest. The larger explosion rocking the building, and Naruto watched as the enemy Nin was tossed again through the wall and into what looked like a hidden room. Walking into the dimly lit space through the smoke, Naruto sniffed as he noticed literal piles of gold and jeweler, nice silks, and all manner of other luxuries he probably couldn't name. No wonder this country wasn't doing well. He could probably fund Uzushio off of this hoard. Seriously, this is like B-grade bad guy stuff. Mask cracked and falling apart, Naruto could finally see the face of the man he had been fighting. Roughly in his mid-20s, there was a scar that ran from his right temple to his left, like someone started to scalp him but then stopped. The blonde hair was his, but more slicked back and short. Gritting bloody teeth, the man forced himself to his knees, blood pouring from his chest. Of interest to Naruto, however, was the slashed-out Iwa headband on his forehead. I won't lose to some brat. Not after I found such a good gig here. Naruto, however, was ignoring him, a bingo book unsealed, and he was flipping through the pages. Ah, there we go. Nakamura Inochi. Run away from Iwa's explosion core. Pretty decent bounty too, even with a high B rank to a low A rank rating. Welp, looks like we're getting that vacation after all. Nakamura surged forward, the last of his chakra built up in his right hand. I won't die here. Hand making contact with the boy's mask, his control fizzled out and the technique died. What? Naruto thrust his sword forward and pierced the Nakamura's chest, allowing it to drain greedily from the man to repair itself. Yeah, I never mentioned it, huh? The red mask? Lets me negate lower-level ninjutsu. So your little baby explosions were never really a worry for me. Watching the life leave Nakamura's eyes, Naruto pulled his repaired sword free and sealed it away. It took an extra moment to prepare and seal away his body, but eventually Naruto stood to make his way back to the others. He'd be having words with the Frost Daimyo. The girls are standing over the daimyo as Naruto returns to the dining hall, mask still in place but now back in his usual Onaman mode. Naruto, however, doesn't spare time. Ino, mind walk him, would ya? On it. The daimyo looked on in fear as the girl made a peculiar hand sign. Wait, wad dash. He slumped over to the floor with a thud, Hinata grabbing Ino's own body to keep her from falling. Hinata looks up to Naruto. How bad was it? Naruto shrugs, making more clones and sending them to guard the door. Not too bad, guy had some boring explosions, nothing to write home about. Only you could call some explosions boring. I'm a man of good taste. Hinata motioned down to herself. I can agree with that. Minx. You love me. Ino gasped, coming back to her body in a rush. Shivering and rubbing her arms, she has to hold herself back from stomping the daimyo's balls in. He's a monster. Naruto frowns as Hinata tries to calm the other girl down. What did you see? Ino slowly regains her composure. It's more than just the taxes or the luxuries he buys himself here at the palace. He orders the ninja to take whatever beautiful girls from the villages, whether they want it or not. He makes them. Naruto holds up a hand, say no more. A Rasengan suddenly blooms to life in his hand. I'll make this quick. Hinata makes sure Ino is steady before walking to Naruto and holding a hand to his chest. Beloved. You can't. Naruto blinks, not moving, but making a show of looking down on the knocked out man and to the Rasengan in his hand. It'd be really easy actually. Like breathing or stepping on bugs. There were a few things that set off Naruto straight to violence. Forcing anyone to give up their freedom, slavery, yeah. That set him off right away. Beloved. If you kill him, he can't answer for his crimes. That also means his people not only won't get justice, but all of his hoarded riches won't make it back to them as well. Let the people see him for what he is, let this country heal on its own. You've done your part. Naruto took a few deep breaths, focusing on Hinata's worn hand on his chest. You really know how to calm the beast. I try. Sighing, Naruto wills his chakra construct away, turning as the main doors burst open. The group of ninja are singed and burned and more than a little worse for wear, but they looked ready to fight at least even if they were wary of the shadow clones. Naruto isn't having it. Unsealing the scroll from Taida again, Naruto raises his voice. Listen up, Frost Ninja. 'Cause I ain't repeating myself. Seeing he had everyone's attention, Naruto pointed down at the knocked-out daimyo. How are you okay with a man like this leading you? How are you okay with seeing your own people suffer like this? This is crazy. There's quiet among the group, some shuffled feet, before someone pushes to the front. An older man in worn armor comes forward, gray in his beard and streaked through his hair. I am Yamamoto, captain of the guard here. To answer you, we didn't have much choice. We swore an oath. Our loyalty is to the daimyo, we have our honor to maintain. Naruto rolls his eyes hard and groans, honor? Naruto points behind them, back towards the rundown village. How is it honorable to watch your people starve? To watch mothers and fathers sell off their daughters? This suffering, you're okay with it all? What about your friends, families? What if it was them? Naruto receives no answer and he almost spits on the floor in disgust. Yeah. You put up with this shit and for what? For him? Great choice. Naruto takes a deep breath to calm himself. Then takes another for good measure. Y'all have two choices that I can see. Either take back your country and help it heal, or I'll do it for you. Yamamoto shakes his head here. Powerful though you are, there's no way we'll accept some outsider taking control of us. We'd rather die. Something in Naruto snaps, drawing on some of Kurama's chakra as he directs real killing intent towards the gathering of ninja. Helping your people is really so much harder than setting aside your shitty honor for a short while? Are you kidding me? Blue eye changing to red, ripples circling his purple eye. Naruto is ready to lay into the men. You could elect a new daimyo, make changes, unless you really believe this shithead is worth so much more than any of you. Under the pressure, the frost ninja begin falling to their knees under the oppressive aura. It was like nothing any of them had felt before, almost as if they were staring at death itself. Hinata walks forward calmly, a gentle hand laying onto his back. No chakra needed, she stands there and waits for him. Naruto responds, slowly relaxing and releasing his hold on Kurama's chakra. It takes a few moments for him to be back to normal, the boy sighing heavily as blood leaks from his left eye. Kneeling down to grab the daimyo, he tosses the old man over his shoulder. If you want help instead of someone to lead you, send word to the land of spring, they'll help you get back on your feet. I'm building an alliance of smaller countries. People who have been exploited and used, much like yourselves. You don't have to do this alone. But, if you want to, I can't stop you. In the back, there's a hidden room with a ton of gold and jewels, use it. Help your people. Yamamoto frowns, stepping forward slowly, why would you go so far? You could kill us easily, level our forces. Why extend a hand to help us? Naruto shrugs, both girls coming to his sides and holding onto his shoulders. I know what it's like to be used by those you trust. To be blinded by duty and honor. Learning to look beyond that is really the hard part. Naruto points at the older man, if you do ask Spring for help, ask for Sandeu, he's a good guy, he'll direct you to who you need. With those final words, they're gone, leaving the frost ninja alone as Naruto's clones all disperse. A random ninja walks up to Yamamoto. Did we really just let them leave with our daimyo? Yamamoto sighs, taking a moment to firm himself before standing tall. Our daimyo was a traitor and a fraud. Go confirm that the horde is there. If it is, begin making preparations to buy and distribute aid to the civilians. This has gone on long enough. He wasn't happy about being lectured by a child, but he couldn't deny the young man spoke the truth. Perhaps they had been ignoring the obvious out of their useless sense of honor and duty. No, not perhaps, they had been. Things needed to change. Far away, Naruto carries the knocked-out daimyo while Hinata passes a green hand over his face to check over his eye. Ino walks beside them, writing in a scroll to list all that she had seen within the daimyo's mind. It was a long walk first to the local bounty station, and then to the land of hot water's daimyo palace, but they would manage. Naruto sighs, think Taida will be upset? Is the sky blue? God, why do we love you? 'Cause I'm awesome? Hinata giggles, poking both of her loves, let's go, we have a lot of ground to cover. Scene change, somewhere in a land of tea forest, Yugo, Kin and Sasami make camp and are resting after a productive day. It had been easy to clean up a few bandit camps that had rolled in after Naruto's first major pass through the country, and now their next mission was to make for the port town at the northern border, another location Naruto had previously helped out. This time however, they were to board a ship and pursue pirates that had been giving the locals trouble. At the moment however Yugo is staring up into the tree cover, taking in the sounds of the forest and enjoying being able to have a moment of peace. On one side Sasami is attempting to make a campfire meal, while on the other Kin is maintaining their weapons, something she was finding she was pretty good with. Shaking himself, he decided maybe he could take a page from Naruto's book, being more forward and honest with both himself and his feelings. He had grown close to the girls traveling with him, and he knew they had some type of feelings for him as well. I have to say, this has been pleasant. Yugo's voice cuts through the night, Kin and Sasami looking up to the bigger boy. I have something to say to you both. Kin is instantly attentive, weapons away and hands in her lap. I'm listening. Sasami has to keep stirring the stew she's attempting, but she locks eyes with him and nods all the same, so am I. What's wrong, Yugo? Yugo takes a deep breath, be like Lord Naruto. Just less chaotic. I realize you both have feelings for me, and I don't mean to offend, but I don't know what to do. I like you both, yes, but until recently my whole life was focused on ridding myself of this curse, of not passing it on to anyone else if I could help it. Now that it's taken care of, that I have options in regards to controlling it, well, it's opened up the possibility to a real and full life, and I don't know what to do. I don't want to treat you wrong, but I don't have experience with this. Seeing the boy finish, Sasami is ready to bury the hatchet with her rival immediately. If he was going to be as clear as he could with his feelings, then so would she. I'm willing to help you through whatever feelings and confusion you have. I like you a lot, and I'd like to explore that. Kin sighs, as it wasn't like she could be upset with Sasami. After all, the girl has excellent tastes in men, first Lord Naruto and now Yugo. Well, if you're going to think about rebuilding your clan in order to truly be a retainer of the Uzumaki, then you'll need help. Kin looks up to both of her teammates, their current cell of Riptide. I'll be here, with you both, together. Sasami smiles brightly. We may not be like Fox Denver. We can't share like them. Kin picks up on that as Yugo shakes his head furiously. We can share with each other because we're both Fuma girls, but you try to run around on us and we'll be having words, got it? Yugo nods quickly. Like I said, I still want to figure out my feelings. I'm attracted to you both for sure, you're both beautiful girls, but my feelings. Emotions, those are harder. Sasami leans over, a hand settling on top of his own. That's okay. We'll be here to help you through it all. You aren't alone. Not anymore. Kin grins, channeling a bit of her sister. Don't you worry, I'll help you through the more carnal side of things. Sasami rolled her eyes. Please don't turn into your sister. One Kotoheim was bad enough. Seeing Yugo blush, Kin shrugged. I don't know. I think Yugo likes the idea. Yugo chuckles. I think I'll have to work up to any of that. I don't have the stamina like Lord Naruto does. Kin nods. I almost feel bad for our lord. The girls are going to wear him out one day. Sasami agrees, like some men would say, what a way to go right. All three share a look before laughing together and getting back to helping prepare a meal. Secretly, all three share a united thought, a silent prayer. Good luck, Lord Uzumaki. Omake on a sandy beach on the shores of Yuzu late at night, Kotoheim sits peacefully. Fingers strumming on her koto, she breathes along with the sea as she plays a haunting and yet lovely tune. Not far from her, leaning on his hands as he sits with legs outstretched and looking up into the moonlit sky, Naruto enjoys the music and the atmosphere. They had decided to come out together at Kotoheim's request, their little date night just the two of them much like all of the others had requested at one time or another. Song building into something more, Kotoheim's voice joined the music, weaving a tale of loss and love. Naruto smiled, listening and letting the music seep into him. It wasn't often he had one-on-one time with the older girl, and tonight he was happy to have this time. The soft sand under them, the quiet of the night mixed with the crashing waves of the sea, he could get used to this. Eventually, the song comes to an end and together they sit in silence, though Naruto looks over his shoulder towards one of the women he had feelings for, that was beautiful Kotoheim. Kotoheim blushes, knowing he was being sincere with his praise. He never was anything less than sincere when speaking to any of them. Thank you. You know, once, long ago, a part of me wanted to travel, see the world as it is. Play for fancy lords and beautiful ladies. Hearing her trail off, Naruto shrugs. You still could, not like you're locked down and can't after all. You're still young, you know. Kotoheim shakes her head, standing and leaving her koto behind. Long legs carry her to Naruto where she smooths her kimono and sits next to him with a smile and leans into him. Those were the dreams of a young girl who didn't yet know what was important to her. Now. She says no more, looking out and watching the sea with him, the stars mirrored in its surface. Skin glowing in the moonlight, Kotoheim entwines a hand with his own. Now that I'm a woman, a bit older, there are some things I find much more important. Family for one. Here she pulls away to look into his eyes. Thank you. Again. For saving my little sister. Naruto nods slowly, watching her glassy eyes. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. She needed help, and I could provide. He accepts the hug from her no problem, hugging her back instantly. I know, and that's what's so important. You're a beautiful soul, one whose light is worth basking in. Kotoheim doesn't hesitate, rolling and coming into his lap, hips straddling his own while her kimono came a bit undone. She trails her hands up to his cheeks, drawing him into a passionate kiss that lights a fire deep within her soul. She had waited. Long after she knew Hinata and Ino had their time. Long after Tayuya seemed to make a decision on what she wanted. And again after at least Karen made it clear what she was going to do. Here now, she could have her time. She could fulfill her desires. After what felt like an eternity, she pulled away, eyes shining. Can I ask for something, if I never ask for anything again? Naruto shakes his head, arms wrapping around her waist as he matched gazes with her. You can ask for anything and everything, as many times as you need. Kotoheim nods, coming closer and bringing her lips to his ear. Then, my lord, will you give me something else to hold on to? More than your presence, more than your love? She pulls away again, a blush on her face as she begins to slide open her kimono a bit more. Something, from the two of us? Naruto nods slowly, understanding this was much more important to her than anything else. Unable to respond verbally, he leans forward to capture her lips again in another soul-searing kiss. Uzushio was said to have cool nights and a constant chilly sea breeze. On one moonlit beach, however, there was nothing but fire and music. Chapter 35. After a long journey on a passenger ship chartered from Wave, Team 7 was finding the Land of Honey to be an interesting place. Misty and heavily wooded, it wasn't all that much different from the Land of Fire in most places. Well, short of the lack of bandits, weird megafauna, and actually, best not to compare anyone else with the Land of Fire, their country was actually pretty odd. That aside, they were making a push against time. The sun was setting and they were coming across the last known location of their target, Koya, to a castle in the middle of almost nowhere. Abandoned by the looks of it as far as the genin were concerned. Sakura has no problem speaking her mind on the subject. It looks creepy, like really creepy. Sasuke grins, bet Naruto would be freaking out right now. Place looks haunted. Sai raises an eyebrow as the two share a laugh. Why would Naruto freak out? Isn't he super powerful? Sakura gets her giggles under control first. Yeah. Naruto is a lot of things. Of all his quirks, he's got a thing about ghosts. Ghosts? Yup. Sakura watched the gears turn in Sai's mind, sure that he was going to come up with some new and most likely heinous nickname for the lost boy. Sai doesn't fully disappoint. Is Naruto slow? Like mentally? Sai was trying to learn this thing Sakura called tact. It was a work in progress, but he was trying. Naruto's a genius with seals. No doubts. He's just a little off. Is all. Sasuke finally got back to standing up straight. He couldn't look at Sakura, however. If he did, his giggles would probably start back up. Kakashi sighed and shook his head, motioning for the team to get moving. Time's a major factor here, team. Let's get to it. The team begins to make their way inside. Sasuke is the first to make another comment, however, as they cross the threshold. Something does feel off about the place, you know. You aren't wrong. Kakashi mentions, his own senses tingling, but they set off to explore the interior. Split up, keep your senses on alert, and make some noise if you find anything. We're here for the daimyo's wife Koya and her guards, so keep your eyes peeled. Hi. Everyone splits up from there, missing the front doors slowly close behind them as they make their way deeper into the interior. Sai walks along a hallway filled with paintings, depicting a long-off battlefield of old. Samurai on open fields or on horseback. His artistic side being curious, he watches them all with interest. He's caught off guard as he looks between two pictures that they seem to change when he isn't looking. Odd. Staring at one and only one for a moment, the visage of a hard-set man in full armor, he was almost sure then maybe he was hallucinating. Turning away, the boy releases a sigh. Perhaps I'm just seeing things because of what Sakura and Sasuke said earlier. Walking down the hallway, he misses all of the pictures floating and rearranging themselves along the hall. Sakura is alone, somehow finding a library with an odd collection of old and dusty books. I'm never living down the bookworm allegations if I come back with a book from all of this. Sighing, she does proceed to look through some of them, but most are so old they're crumbling at the touch. On a large desk along the back wall of the room, however, she finds one book that is in nearly perfect shape. Maybe a clue that someone had been here recently? Sakura picks it up and rifles through it, reading quickly as only a seasoned late-night reader could. Koza Kubasaki. Well, this was interesting. Behind her books rattle in the shelves, and she turns with a start, sure that someone is there. What's that now? Looking around, she doesn't find anyone there. Waiting a bit more, she finally releases the breath she was holding with a sigh. Don't turn into Naruto, Sakura. He's crazy. Sasuke isn't much better. You have to be the sane one. Be sane. Be normal. Talking to yourself isn't all that normal, Sakura. Sakura finally decided to take the book with her and look around some more. No one was here after all. Again, the books behind her rattle as she is leaving, and she turns again to see what the noise is about. I'm not playing this game, damn it. Sasuke, Kakashi-sensei. No one answers her at first. Then the books start flying around the room with speed and in no real pattern. Nope. I'm out. Sakura turns and leaves the way she came. This was not normal by a long shot. Someone better be messing with her. Centering her chakra as she runs, she attempts to dispel any genjutsu that might be put on her. Seeing nothing change, she hunts down Kakashi instead. In one of the larger meeting halls, Sai hears pounding footsteps and waits to see who it could be. He had searched a good portion of the west end of the building with no luck. It was Sakura who was pounding away towards him, skidding to a stop as she looked around frantically. Please tell me you've seen Kakashi-sensei. No. Not yet, though. I'm sure I've seen some odd occurrences. What about yourself? Do flying books with no noticeable chakra sound odd? 'Cause that was odd to me. Sai had genuine surprise on his face. Flying books? Yeah. Sai's eyes looked down at the book in her hands and then back up to her face. Should we burn it? Sakura clutched the only intact book tighter. Don't even try. Books are sacred. Hearing footsteps, both teens turned to see their sensei coming from another hallway. Oh, Kakashi-sensei. There's some weird stuff going on around here. Kakashi chuckled. You know, I was about to say the same thing. Standing aside, he motions to a slightly see-through man. Meet Koza Kubisaki. Sakura's eyes widen. No way. No way. Sai tilts his head again. Huh. Ghosts are real. Sakura shakes her head rapidly. Nope. Nope. This is just an elaborate genjutsu that I can't break. Ghosts aren't real. Naruto couldn't have been right about that. No. No sane world can allow that. No way. Koza turns to Kakashi. Is she okay? She'll get it out of her system in a moment. Now, you said you have information on our missing target? Yes. See, my summon was left behind when I was killed and I was unable to desummon it. It created this mansion and has been eating people for the last 50-odd years. You'll have to find its scroll and destroy it in order to leave, but I can lead you to where the daimyo's wife is. Kakashi bows lightly. Well, lead the way. He lightly taps Sakura on the shoulder. We found Koya and her guards. Sakura salutes quickly, eyes completely tracking past Koza, as if he isn't there. Lead the way, Kakashi-sensei. Sai pulls out a notepad and begins to write in it, almost Jonin levels of denial while in stressful situations in order to continue the mission. Very formidable. He expertly ducked the fist that sailed through where his head used to be. At least he was learning. Towards the heart of the castle, we find Sasuke walking into what looks to be a large, but empty room. If he didn't know better, he'd say this room was too large to actually exist within the castle itself. Activating his Sharingan finally, he starts to see why. He couldn't see it before, but in the middle of the room is a dog-sized chameleon. Odd. Hey there, little guy, who are you? The creature looks up, eyes coming up, and they lock gazes. Against his will, Sasuke is subjected to the events of 50 years ago. The last stand battle of its former master, becoming this form in order to survive these decades without its master to send it home. Taking and eating unsuspecting bandits and travelers. At first being discerning about it, until more recently less so. Sasuke takes it all in, before walking forward and kneeling before the summon, patting it lightly on the head with a soft smile. I get it. You've been holding on to this duty, you're fraying honor for all this time for a master who was taken from you. Fulfilling a role given to you from someone else. Sasuke applies more chakra to his dojutsu, connecting deeper with the summon. Sometimes you have to let go. Move on with your life. You could have left, made a new path, found a new summoner. But I respect that you've done what you thought was best. But maybe it's time to rest for a while. Shiromori, the summon of the former Koza Kubisaki, is silent, emotions and feelings raging in Sasuke's mind, but they change faster than he can focus on. Eventually, they settle on one. Relief. The summon stands, bowing slowly to him before things begin to fade around them. Sasuke smiles and salutes Shiromori. Hope you find a new summoner to go on new adventures down the line. Already have. The voice is quiet, childlike, and then things turn sideways for Sasuke. Outside, the castle seems to warp and bend on itself, space itself, not quite sure if the building should exist or not. With a crack of lightning, several bodies are deposited on the road, Team 7 along with their target KO and her guards. Grunting and groaning from the rough treatment and harsh landing, Everyone takes a few moments to gather themselves before they stand. Team 7 is greeted by the spirit Koza, who bows deeply to Sasuke, who has his arms full of a massive scroll. Please. Take care of them like I couldn't. The chameleon clan deserves better than they got with me. Heh, I'll do just that. It's a promise. Koza smiles and fades away, leaving the groups alone on the road. Sasuke turns to everyone else, raising an eyebrow as everyone is looking at him strangely. What? Sakura just sighs, deciding she was never telling Naruto about this mission at all. In fact, she was already erasing it from her mind completely. You're starting to act like Naruto, and I don't know how to feel about it. Wait, what? Kakashi nodded, only Naruto would have that kind of luck. No. Wait. Sasuke thought about it. Walking into a castle that was apparently haunted by a ghost. Finding the summon responsible by chance. Talking to it and convincing it to join him. Wait. Was he really? No. Sakura nodded, yup. You're more like your brother Naruto than you thought. I'm so telling. Well shit. Sasuke smiled in the end. At least he could say he gained a summon all on his own. Take that, Naruto. Scene change across the sea and to the south, another cell of Uzushio's riptide was underway. Tayuya, Kotoheim, and Karen had asked Tsunami who would be best to charter a ship from in order to make it to the land of sea. Tsunami went overboard and tasked one of Wave's newer container ships for the task, roughly 250 meters long and constructed of steel. Wave was quite proud of the newly built transport ship. Karen had asked why Tsunami was willing to loan it to them and she only smiled. Never know when you'll have a lot of something to bring back after all. Left with that little tidbit, the group set on their way. Tayuya and Karen had remembered that there was a sound base a long ways out this way, and more than likely they could raid it for important resources and to mess with Orochimaru. Karen had mentioned that there was most likely a man here that had a bounty on his head along with medical supplies, while Tayuya was sure there were at least a smaller number of prisoners here that they could free. Kotoheim just smiled through it all, trusting the other women's judgment and ready to pull her weight, so to speak. Naruto would never ask of such from them, which made her want to work that much harder anyway. She just knew he would praise her. Much as he had that night. Repeatedly. Loudly. Tayuya rolled her eyes as the group sat at the bow of the ship together, seeing Kotoheim again lost in her own world. Should we lock her in the ship and hope for the best? Karen giggled, she had her date night with Naruto recently. You know what that's like. Tayuya blushed and looked away, I don't know what you mean. Sure you don't. Looking out across the calm waters, Karen could just make out their destination on the horizon. While this base should be lightly defended if defended at all. The previous researcher here has me worried. Tayuya leaned against the railing, what do you mean? Amachi? That blowhard is nothing, probably left the second Orochimaru abandoned this place. Karen shook her head, you don't know Amachi. He was obsessive. He probably stayed to continue his research in spite of Orochimaru. Really think so? Absolutely. Which absolutely means we could take him in for his bounty. He's wanted in a few countries after all. Well, guess we should plan then. The base is on Jiro Island, I think. Between me and Kotoheim, this really shouldn't be a problem normally. Amachi himself isn't a fighter. Karen considers that, no but. His experiments. Tayuya waved that off, if Orochimaru abandoned him, most likely it wasn't worth the effort. Just keep your guard up. How goes your seal work? Not nearly at Naruto's level, but I can take care of myself. Plus. I have my backup. Good, keep close and we'll keep each other safe. Tayuya hadn't had a real chance to run a mission for Naruto yet, and he had put her in charge of this one. She wanted everything to go well and didn't want anyone hurt. Karen frowned as she looked down into the water, there's something. No. It's gone. Someone underwater? Kotoheim was suddenly focused, looking out towards the sea. Something or one, yeah. But it's gone now. Wonder why. Karen mulls over it while Tayuya grills Kotoheim next to her for information. Eventually, they make it to Hahajima, their ship easily dwarfing anything else there and just barely fitting the length of the port. Tayuya gives orders to the ship captain, telling him they'll be here for at most the day before they set off for the next island tomorrow. He nods and retreats to give orders to the rest of the crew while authorizing some shore leave for some of them while warning them to stay close. They had VIPs on board after all, they needed to stay close and mostly functional. Tayuya looks over the side to see fairly official-looking men headed their way. She almost immediately donned her own Onaman mask, this was having a small streak of red down through the left eye. Look alive, we gotta be official. Karen sighed, unsealing and putting on her Kamene mask. Idly, she watched Kotoheim place a blue Hanya mask on as well. Yay, blowhards looking to sound important. Kotoheim chuckles, they might actually be important, let's give them the benefit of doubt first. Tayuya led the way over the side of the ship as the crew set about mooring it to the docks. She and Karen followed after their leader, mentally switching over into mission mode. The trio of Riptide have left the ship itself, walking along the dock to meet up with a duo or men coming to meet them. One looked very much in charge, while the other was most likely a secretary. Good afternoon, it's rare we see such a large ship enter our port. What's the occasion? The man was rather short now that they were closer, completely bald with a long and thin mustache and drooped past his chin. His assistant was tall and railed-in, face somehow stuck as if he was perpetually smelling something foul. Just what the group wanted to deal with. Tayuya took the lead, we're of the Riptide group from Uzushio. We're hunting a dangerous criminal we believe is holed up on one of the surrounding islands. Should only be a day and we'll be on our way again. The man nods sagely, criminal you say. He eyes the large ship, taking up most of their port, be careful. His voice drops, hard to hear over the din of the busy port workers, there's a monster terrorizing our waters recently. Your ship is impressive yes, but it would still be wise to be vigilant. Tayuya nods, will do. Do you mind us having a look around? Not at all, please, feel free. Great. Tayuya turns to the others, let's split up for now, keep it low-key, and meet back here at sundown. Hi. Karen and Kotoheim both agreed and the trio set off, leaving the port master sighing. Why is it always ninja? They just about always pay well, sir. If they pay at all. Come. Let's see if the ship captain will be paying the port fees. The duo set off, while Riptide disappeared into the distance. Dropping from the rooftops and removing her mask, Tayuya figures it might be best to be as non-ninja as possible. So saying, she sealed away her mask and most of her ninja gear, eventually flowing back onto the street and making her way towards the shore. Karen and Kotoheim were looking closer towards the port for info, so she would be hitting the village a little outside of town. Joining the flow of people, Tayuya wondered at her current feelings. She had thought that maybe being at a seaside town that she might feel some type of familiarity, what with Wave and Yuzu being much of the same. But it wasn't to be. She was only met with a sense of longing, of wishing to be home. This must be what homesickness is. Never would have imagined I'd feel this way. Shaking her mind free of those thoughts, she followed the road and saw that she was walking by what looked like quiet beach. Quiet or not, however, she noticed two boys accosting a younger bandaged girl on the clear sands. Irritated and in a decent mood, she made her way to help the injured girl out. Hey you assholes! Leave her alone before I stomp your shit in. Both boys stop, turning to look at the angry redhead approaching them. Not believing their luck, Yoroi and Masumi look wide-eyed at the member of the Sound Four who was here. Tayuya? Yoroi whispered as he turned to Masumi. We gotta go. Seeing Tayuya begin to recognize them and switch on her seal to transform, Yoroi becomes more insistent. Yeah. They both sprint away as fast as they can and Tayuya lets them go. Now that she knows they're here, she already knows where they're going to go. Better to have them all in one place. Ignoring the retreating trash twins for now, Tayuya releases her seal and walks up to the girl they had been harassing. Hey, you good? Isaribi wouldn't normally engage with anyone, so used to people getting close to her only to abuse her. However, this was apparently someone who knew what it was like to be different, that other form reminding her more of herself than any other almost right away. Deciding to be friendly and nodding, Isaribi holds out a hand, thank you. They usually don't leave until they kick me around some. Tayuya throws a thumb over her shoulder, don't let those weaklings push you around. Punch him once or twice in the nose and they'll leave you alone. Tayuya gave the girl a once-over and frowned. Sure she was bandaged, but she wasn't moving like someone injured. No. Something else was going on. Wanna talk about it? Isaribi turned away, looking at her vandalized shack and sighing. Don't know if you'll understand any of it. Tayuya shrugged, walking past the girl and sitting on the soft sands, looking out at the waves. I'm gonna take a guess that you know who Orochimaru is. Yuri and Masumi being involved and not trying to kill or rape the girl? Yeah. There was more here going on than what appeared. Isaribi sighed, so. You're one of his. She walked forward, cursing her luck. She couldn't run now. Deciding to come forward and plop herself next to the taller woman, the bandaged experiment cast her own gaze out to the sea. Here to take me in? Tayuya shook her head. Actually, believe it or not, I'm not with Orochimaru anymore. Turning to the shorter woman she grinned, I'm here to beat the shit out of Amachi and take him in for his bounty. Maybe raid the island. That sort of thing. Wait. You left Orochimaru? How? Why? It was unheard of. Everyone knew of how tightly Orochimaru controlled people. How could anyone even think of leaving and being successful at it? Tayuya chuckled. Would you believe me if I said it revolved around love? Seeing Isaribi's incredulous look, Tayuya nodded and pulled her hair aside, showing off her modified seal. Someone dear to me made me a promise. Said they could get rid of the seal linking me with Orochimaru. And they did it. Did a lot of things actually that to this day, I'm still surprised any of it happened. Much like Kotoheim had earlier, Tayuya lost herself to some pleasant memories. Loud and brash she may be, she remembered soft words and gentle touches being exchanged in a moonlit room. Whiskers certainly had learned how each of them wanted to be treated, and he seemed to be softest with her in private. They sit in silence for a few minutes, quietly looking out into the peaceful waves, while they both collected their thoughts. Isaribi however was first. Since you understand just what Orochimaru is capable of, you probably don't need to wonder what happened to me then. Probably not. Guessing you were a test subject yourself? Yes. Orochimaru tasked a researcher, Amachi, with making the ultimate water warrior. Pulling some of the bandages on her arm aside, she showed off her scales. This is the result. I have another form much like you. Only I can't return completely to normal. Tayuya nods at that. That's probably why Orochimaru abandoned this lab and Amachi. He found a better method. Again another pause, a little more comfortable as they talked more. What's your deal, really? A deep sigh is her answer, but Tayuya waits patiently. Isaribi is thankful for that. I'm working with Amachi. He tasks me with destroying certain ships coming into port and raiding them for money and gold, and in return he has promised that he'll return me to normal. Ever consider the shithead is lying? This is Amachi we're talking about. Of course. Isaribi lowers her voice, startling herself at her outburst. Of course I know he's lying. He's also the only person I know of that even has a chance of doing it, however. And I need to be normal again. I can't keep living this life. Tayuya can agree with that sentiment, having once felt the same way. Wishing her life could be any sort of normal. That things were different. What if? She needed to channel some Naruto here for this, the idiot. What if I could find someone to help you instead of him? What? Yeah. My cousin, sister wife, I don't really know what to call her. Her name is Karen. She's super smart and is really good at research and seals and whatnot. I bet with her help and another of my sister wife's talents, they could set you right as rain in no time at all. Hinata was the medical expert out of all of them. Maybe not Tsunade, but give her a few years and who knew? Isaribi refuses to be hopeful. Amachi having given her much of the same speech once long ago. Life hasn't been that kind to me. It might not even work, this is too easy. Tayuya scoffed, a hand fisting into the sand. Look, life can be pretty shitty. I would know just as much as you. But sometimes, you gotta take life by its wrinkled balls and give him a good old twist. Isaribi is looking at Tayuya like she's grown a second head, and Tayuya herself laughs loudly. Look, there's nothing keeping you here in the land of sea except for a promise that you know doesn't hold any weight. So why not join us instead? Uzushio is a great place. Lots of good people, plenty of work to keep you busy, and for someone like you who seems at home in the sea, well, we are an island nation. Plus, Tayuya tempers her grin into something much more genuine and soft. I meant it. If my friends can help you, they will, and they won't ask for anything in return. It's just how they roll. Isaribi pauses again, still not sure if she can make that leap from trusting Amachi all this time to this literal stranger who helped her with no hesitation and no requests. I don't want to get burned again. Well, life is life. I can't promise you'll never get burned again. I can promise that it won't be from us, and I can promise that we'll do everything we can to help you. Amachi is trash. Just watch, we'll end him and start setting things right around here. Isaribi sighs, shaking her head as she really considers this. Would she really betray Amachi after all this time? It had been years, so many years. How are you so sure you can do this? Here Tayuya blushes, gaze breaking away from the shorter woman to look out over the water and the setting sun. Like you, my life was pretty shitty. But I was saved. I found love. Real love. Ever since then, I've never trained harder, felt stronger, done so much more than I ever have in my life. Thanks to him and his belief seeping into me, I want to pass it on. So I'll fight tooth and nail to make sure anyone who had a life like me that I meet never suffers again. And today, that means you. Isaribi can see and feel that Tayuya means every bit of it and smiles, quickly wiping away a tear from one eye as she sits quietly in order to organize her thoughts. She really had no loyalty to Amachi, only being with him in order to return herself to normal. She knew deep down that he was using her to enrich himself. He probably had never meant to cure her, whether he could or not didn't really matter now. Because here was someone that she knew, even if she couldn't be normal, they could and probably would accept her just as she was. He's on Demon Island. They moved the lab after Orochimaru left. There aren't any guards besides Yoroi and Masumi, but he has a lot of prisoners. Like, hundreds, the majority not from this island. Tayuya nods, good to know. Tentatively, Tayuya reaches an arm out, settling it around Isaribi's shoulders and pulling her into a hug. You're not alone anymore. We'll help you build a new family, make new friends. A new life, just for you. Isaribi sniffles, you know I'm older than you, right? By close to a decade. So what, let me be big sis Tayuya for a minute. Is your husband this insane? Oh, just you wait. You think I'm bad? He'll have you wondering if the Kami are playing a joke on the rest of the world. Tayuya loved her whiskered idiot, but he really did have a screw or two loose. Probably rattled free by all the explosions. They sat there in companionable silence for some time, watching the sun truly begin to set, bathing them in the orange and soon purples of the late afternoon and evening. Come on, let's blow this shithole. Standing and pulling the shorter woman with her, Tayuya pointed at the shack. Want to blow it to hell? Isaribi stared long and hard at the shack that had been her little home for so many years now. Closing her eyes and centering herself, she eventually shook her head and let her body relax. No. I want to be rid of all of it, that means letting it go. No more energy towards it, let it rot away on its own without my help. Tayuya grinned as they started walking back towards the port. Sounds good to me. Though personally I like a little destruction therapy. Sounds violent. That's me. Tayuya chuckles and Isaribi sighs. Why am I doing this again? 'Cause it's better than bowing down to some limp dick jack-off who's happy to use you for the rest of your life. Tayuya pointed at herself, plus, there's a good chance you believe we're actually pretty awesome. We'll see about that. Oh, a challenge, I like the thought. Tayuya would tease and poke at Isaribi the rest of the way, trying to get her to open up little bit by little bit. Still wondering at her fortune to find all of the information they needed right away. But she wouldn't complain. This was something Naruto would do without a thought. So she would do it as well. Sun nearly completely set, the group is back together on the ship and inside their sleeping quarters. Karen and Kotoheim are masks off as Tayuya finally walks in, a quiet Isaribi behind her. Karen began to fret, oh please tell me you didn't beat the poor girl up, what the hell Tayuya? Tayuya raises a fist, what the hell yourself? What makes you think I'd drag some girl here after beating her up? Karen whistled, well I mean. You're usually so violent with Ino and. Oh screw you. Kotoheim just smiled and let the siblings duke it out. Hello, I'm Kotoheim, what's your name? Isaribi sighed, I'm Isaribi. I know I look young, but I'm closer to 23 actually. Karen and Tayuya pause, Karen pinching Tayuya's cheeks and stretching them while Tayuya was one step away from doing the same. Oh. Sorry, you looked so young and Tayuya finally brushed her off. Yeah actually, she's more like us in the end. Isaribi, do you mind showing them? Tayuya takes her second form and grins, you aren't alone here. Isaribi smiles gratefully, doing as Tayuya asks and transforming into her Kaima form. The girls go wide-eyed before Karen's fingers start to twitch. What's with her? Isaribi is ready to bolt, unnerved a little by the look in Karen's eyes. Karen is frowning. Was that Orochimaru's or Amachi's work? Isaribi shrugged, both. Orochimaru started it, but Amachi picked it up and continued with it. He claimed he was the only one who could return me to normal, but that was years ago. Karen was still frowning, so another reason to stomp his shit in. Tayuya wiped a fake tear away. Oh, they grow up so fast. Screw you. You'd like that, I think. Well. Karen thinks about it and blushes. Maybe if Naruto was involved and was into that sort of thing. Kotohime rolls her eyes as the duo gets back into scuffling. They'll be at this for a while. Why don't we find somewhere for you to rest? We're setting out in the morning. Thanks. Isaribi had a smile on her face as she watched Tayuya and Karen. Whoever this Naruto was, he was a very lucky man. She'd have to stay far away from that madness, but he was lucky all the same. Scene change. In the morning, the group and their ship are anchor up and steaming away towards Demon Island. Tayuya left a message behind for the port master, telling them that they'll be taking care of the wanted criminal they were after, and if they found any of their missing people that they would be returned. Now, however, sitting on the main deck, which is full of containers, the Riptide trio plus Isaribi are at the bow and chatting about what was to come next. Tayuya motions towards the island. Isaribi gets to stay here. I remember the layout well enough. We go in, ransack the place, stomp Amachi and his cronies, and then steam for home before dinner. That's like, barely a plan. Karen sighs as she holds her kimono mask loosely in one hand. It's a good plan. It's so full of holes, if we dropped it over the side it would sink. Kotohime giggled. It wasn't that bad. Wait, you're saying it's bad too? Well, Karen grinned. See, you can't plan to save your life. Complicated plans are guaranteed to fall apart. Trust me, we got this. Amachi is trash. Karen rolls her eyes. I have backup, so I guess it's fine. See, just relax. Go with the flow. Karen took on a teasing look. Is that what Naruto said to you last time you flew dash? She missed Tayuya launching her way, didn't miss the tackle however. Isaribi again was looking at Kotohime. This seems very common. Kotohime nods. It is for them. Don't worry, I'm sure you won't come down with the sickness. It's an Uzumaki thing. Kotohime had learned they were all a very physical bunch. Physical touch was absolutely Naruto's love language. Isaribi watches the ocean quietly. I'm supposed to attack a ship today. Amachi is going to be expecting me back. Kotohime turned to face her. This could work for us. It would mean his guard might be down. Maybe. Isaribi thought about that, because it could also mean his guard would be up. Yori and Masumi had seen Tayuya yesterday. She puts it out of her mind, assured that Tayuya would in fact do what she said, taking down Amachi and earning Isaribi her freedom. The trip is short, not that much distance between the main island and the smaller island. Karen leaves to give directions to the captain, and eventually, the ship half beaches itself near the shoreline on soft sand. Anchors dropped. It could pull away if needed, but it might need help if the tide went out any further. A portion of the side of the ship folded away, a 3-meter-wide gangplank lowering to splash into the waters with the help of the crew. From there Karen motions for the containers to be opened, and from within 2-meter-tall stone golem begin to follow her down towards the shore. At her sides, Tayuya and Kotohime are curious as she dons her mask. This is your backup? Karen shakes her head. Nope. These are just to help ransack the place. We aren't Naruto after all. We can't spam shadow clones like him. Besides, golem were much more stable and could take a beating. Tayuya waves back to Isaribi. Don't you worry, we'll be back in a flash. Watch the ship for us. Isaribi nods and waves along with several members of the crew who were at the rails and watching the women leave. They had nothing but time now, again ordered to hold their stations and wait. Isaribi had nothing to do, but kept an eye out, just in case. Tayuya led the way, quickly finding the entrance and showing the way inside as this entrance was rather large. This place isn't all that huge. The first few sub-levels are the prison levels, then the next are the labs. Kotohime nods. I'll help Karen convince people to leave if you want to scout ahead. Tayuya shook her head. Nah, I'll help out. Getting the people out of here is way more important. Karen, have you found any stronger chakra signatures here? Just 3, so I guess those are Amachi, Yoroi, and Masumi. Getting a nod from Tayuya, they all set to work. True enough, one level down they ran into cages upon cages filled with people. They started with a system, the girls explaining the situation before unlocking the cages. Then a golem would escort them back to the ship where the crew would take over for their care. Rinse and repeat for this floor and the next. As they reach a research floor, however, Karen begins to chuckle darkly as she gives orders to her minions. I'm gonna steal everything that isn't nailed down. This'll go a long way towards helping Uzushio in the future. Kotoheim sighs. Naruto won't approve of experimentation like this, however. She peers into one of the tubes, a ghastly half-human half-anime hybrid floating inside. It's obviously dead, but she can only imagine how much they suffered before they met their end. Karen agrees with her, of course he wouldn't. I don't want that. Most of this is actually really good medical equipment. It's just being used for really evil shit. Karen holds out her arm, pulling up a sleeve to show off her healing bite marks. If I can use these to create a synthetic version of my blood in order to heal people. Even if it isn't as strong. That'd be a win in my book. Tayuya nods, I'm all for it. Let's ransack the place and move on quickly. Karen nods and unseals a large scroll. Unrolling it, she begins to seal away any and all of the equipment her golems bring. They leave any of the tubes that had dead people within them. Karen decides it would be best to use one of Naruto's explosives and bury everything here. If we didn't need Amachi's body, this would be such an easy mission. Tayuya agrees, blowing this place to hell would be the easy option. Especially since the asshole is down there and not bothering us. Must be confident. They spend some time and finish with this floor before moving on to the next, Karen warning them that Amachi and his cronies are one floor below them. As the others get back to stealing everything they can, Kotoheim sets herself down next to the flight of stairs leading downward. I'll get a genjutsu ready. Would be best to put your mask on, Tayuya. Donning her blue Hanya mask, the older girl is grinning as she unseals her koto. Tayuya complies, equipping her Onaman mask before shifting it as well into a blue Hanya mask. Best to be prepared for anything? Even shit can make you slip up. Kotoheim hums, oh, so you can use that head of yours. Naruto sure enjoys it. Tayuya's quip is near instant along with the grin that's hidden by her mask. Kotoheim pauses, raises a finger, pauses again, then sighs. That was good. Tayuya preens, oh ho, you've acknowledged me, great shit. Karen rolls her eyes as her golem set to work without her, taking the scroll and the remaining equipment back to the ship. Let's go. I want to head back home soon. Karen and Tayuya head down the stairs, the low haunting tune Kotoheim decides to play following after them. They would be protected by their masks, their opponents however. Below the duo walk in to find the thin and plain-looking Amachi standing before a desk while poring over notes, Yoroi and Misumi at his sides. Hearing the approaching footsteps, the trio look up and Yoroi is already frowning. See, I told you they were coming for us. Amachi turns and is furious within an instant, so Orochimaru finally returns now that my genius has borne fruit. Well, too bad. I'm going to make my own way, pursue my own ambitions. Tayuya waves him away, yeah no, we're not here for Orochimaru actually. Though that doesn't really matter. Amachi points a shaking finger at the girls, if you know what's good for you, you'll leave then. Unless you're ready to die. Tayuya assumes her second form, grinning all the while, yeah, threatening me isn't the best way to make me leave buddy. Then what do you want? A cure like that broken girl? Like I would help you. Amachi was torn between if he had time to transform or if he should summon his greatest creation. Tayuya shakes her head, flute appearing in her hand. Bringing it to her lips, her smirk never leaves her lips, I don't need anything from someone like you. I've got way more to protect now, and someone important to return to. Don't you worry, you'll see what I want in a moment. Summoning her doki, she begins to play. Shit, protect me. Yoroi and Misumi burst into action, and almost immediately are thrown on the defensive. Amachi only has moments to assume his Kaima form, before he's also set upon by one of the doki as well. What are these? Misumi is set upon by the large bald doki, claws slashing and hacking at him as he twists and turns to try to avoid being eviscerated and escape. This was supposed to be an easy job. Protect some lab rat and make some money. Yoroi nods, trying and failing to keep out of range of the bandaged doki. He couldn't tell what this one did, but something told him to keep far away from it. Amachi. We need to go. Misumi however slips up, the battle damaging the room and one of the test tubes was beginning to leak. Slipping on the fluid and losing his balance, the bald Doki slams a clawed fist into his chest, nailing him to the wall and bisecting his heart. He's gone before he hits the floor. Yoroi curses and taps a hand against the summon chasing him, siphoning some chakra and slowing it down. Fuck. Maybe I better cut my losses. Amachi hears him however. Don't you dare. You're sworn to protect me, so you better step it up, you useless pile of traw. Distracted, he misses the club-wielding Doki swinging towards him. Yoroi doesn't have to look as he hears wood connecting solidly with a body to know that Amachi is down. That's it, I'm out. Turning and pumping chakra to his legs, Yoroi heads straight to the door. He'd at least leave with his life. Karen has other ideas, stepping in his path, going somewhere? Yeah, through you, supporter. Yoroi pulls a kunai to slash through the slip of a girl and continue on. He stopped however, something unseen piercing his chest and halting his movement. Body quickly growing cold, the genjutsu drops, allowing him to see several chains have erupted from the ground to skewer him. Neat trick. I know, right? Karen grins as the form before him morphs into the same girl kneeling on the ground, chains coming from her hands and digging into the floor. She eventually retracts them, ripping them from his body and returning them to her. Took a lot of work to get here. Standing and dusting herself off, she ignores Tayuya dispelling her summons while she commands her golem. More come down the stairs in a fresh wave, once more stripping the place for anything useful. Tayuya questions her, don't you think you have enough? Well, Isaribi wants to be normal again, right? Or at least, normal looking. Some of these notes might actually have the answer. That Amachi guy looked normal until he changed, and it acts sort of like your previous curse form and now your Yuzu seal. Yuzu seal? We should come up with a name for it. I guess. Tayuya walked around, sealing away the bodies of their enemies before grinning and looking towards the stairs as Kotoheim walked down to meet them. Yo. I heard the fighting cease, so I assumed we were done here. Yup. Tayuya gave her a thumbs up, time to head home and get that vacation from Naruto. Kotoheim reaches up and rubs her shoulder, a hot spring resort does sound lovely. Karen nods, I could go for that too. Tayuya throws a fist in the air, it's settled. Let's get a move on and go home with our new addition. This was a good end to a simple mission. She wouldn't jinx it, but instead focus on maybe they could gain an ally out of this as well. They did find a bunch of kidnapped people from the land of sea, after all. Heck, Naruto might really praise her for this one. Karen was grinning as she unsealed a large scroll with 2 black bands of ink on each end. I have AV2 ready. Tayuya motioned forward, then let's get a move on and get the hell out of here. In an hour, there wouldn't be a trace of this island left. Scene change, nighttime in Suna was a welcome reprieve from the extreme heat of the day. There was a sweet spot before temps dropped into freezing, where everyone would come out and come together. Errands would get done, bars and shops would be at their busiest, and overall, the village mood would improve nearly 100% from the day. In one home, the home of the Suna siblings, and the Kazakage, Gaara is laid up on the couch. Silent and not yet dozing off, but not fully awake either. In the kitchen behind him, Temari is waving a spatula in the air and complaining about cooking for them all. It wasn't like they were incapable of cooking for themselves after all. Kankuro scoffs from his corner of half-organized puppet chaos, the kitchen is the woman's place, sis, maybe you'll get a boyfriend if you get used to it. Temari points the spatula directly at him, wanna find out just what really is women's work? Remember, I know how to clean up blood better than you do. She pauses in her rant however, as on the wall in the living room, the Horatian tag they placed there begins to chime. Drawing all of their attention, it chimes several more times in an increasing tempo, before Naruto is there in a flash of light. Yo. Hands on his hips, Naruto is the picture of happy and healthy. Temari is all smiles suddenly, oh Naruto. Welcome. I'm making dinner, are you hungry at all? Kankuro scoffs, where's all that complaining from a minute dash, he stops as a senbon pierces the wall next to his head. He didn't want to think about the fact that he never saw his sister even draw said weapon, or just where she got it from. No. He'd just get back to repairing and tweaking his latest project. That was probably better for his health. Naruto, however, was right at home. A girl was trying to flirt with him, someone was getting threatened, and someone was trying to sleep. Just like home. Coming forward, he casually lifted Gaara into a standing position and hugged the shorter boy. Good to see you, Gaara. Gaara had a moment of awkwardness, before he nodded as Naruto stepped away. Likewise Naruto. Still stiff, Naruto chuckles. It's called a hug, Gaara. Won't kill ya, and you'll get used to them around me. Gaara nods slowly, a hug. Naruto, however, relaxes a tad. Welp, you asked me to come visit, one Kage to the other. So here I am. Gaara sits down again, scooting to the far end of the couch, while motioning for Naruto to do the same. We have a lot to talk about. Naruto grins, hopefully all good. I want our countries to get along the most. Gaara sighs, I appreciate that as well and have hopes that things between all the countries could be as peaceful. Though thinking on it, you'll have to be acknowledged by the other Kage in order to call yourself a member of the major nations. Doesn't matter to me. With or without the official title, my people will still look up to me. What ninja I have will still respect me. Naruto, however, pauses to scratch his cheek. It would be nice though, at least to hear Granny Tsunade to call me the Uzukage at least once. Naruto meant it as well. Traveling the nations and helping people had changed his perspective a bit. Sure, it was nice to be called the Kage, but at the end of the day, it was more about him actually doing something. He was helping people, saving lives. That was what was important. As the two talk and bond a bit, Kankuro has made his way into the kitchen, most likely for more teasing. Temari is humming idly as she cooks with her mind focused on not burning anything. Hey. Kankuro leans against the kitchen counter next to her, though out of the way. He nearly got stabbed the last time he interrupted her in the kitchen. Not looking up, she did acknowledge him. Think you've ever seen Gaara smile this much in one go? Temari smiles herself while shaking her head, no, and don't jinx it. Naruto is one of the few people on the planet that can understand him. Not as a weapon, but as a person, and that's super important. Yeah, you're right, guess we should leave them be, huh? Yes, let Gaara have his friend. Kankuro grinned, so does that include you not trying to get in his pants then cause a folded battle fan crashes into his head and Temari begins to stomp him into the floor. In the living room, Naruto is watching the scene from the couch with raised eyebrows. Temari sure is strong, huh? It was impressive. Reminded him a bit of a mix between Tayuya and Ino. Funny that. Gaara coughed and regained Naruto's attention. You can't date my sister. Naruto chuckles and scratches his cheek, don't worry, I don't plan to. From the kitchen a flustered but grinning Temari stands up straight again, to look at them. There's plenty that can be done without dating. Naruto relaxes fully back into the couch, now this was the chaos he was more used to. Why can't things be normal for me just once? Gaara reaches forward to pat his shoulder, we're Jinchuriki, we don't get normal. At least he had a friend, that was enough normal for him. Omake in a rowdy karaoke bar in the Leaf Village, Kakashi finds himself at the bar drinking with of all people Anko. Both are smiling, watching Iruka and Shizune pair up and attempt to sing a duet of some sort. They were far too drunk and so off-key, no one could understand a word of it. But they were having fun, so they can't help but laugh about it. Kakashi shakes his head at it all, to think, this could be my life. It's just so normal. Anko nods, agreeing with the scarecrow, I know what you mean. I didn't think anyone would see beyond my past long enough for me to have normal relationships like this. Her eyes trail to the flushed Iruka, especially someone like him. Maybe we just needed someone strong and sane to anchor us in this messed up world. Anko pauses, drink halfway to her lips as she thinks about just how stable she had been since she started her relationship with Iruka. You ain't wrong. Here she took a drink and moaned at the taste. Sure, the physical stuff is nice. But Iruka is a big softie, and gentle with me. I've never had that. Kakashi holds his drink up, saluting Shizune as their song finishes and they begin drunkenly weaving back towards the pair, I know what you mean. With Shizune I don't have the nightmares anymore. The doubts are gone as well. Everything is just, in focus with her. They both turn to each other, before they clink glasses together and share their little moment, before they shake themselves and come back to reality for a bit. Anko's smile turns to a more vicious grin, tell anyone I said any of the mushy shit and I'll feed you to my snakes. I'll sick Naruto on you. Anko starts to pout, wait a minute. That's way worse than snakes. Kakashi shrugs, I'm not above dropping a mountain on an anthill for Shizune. They grin at each other, before clinking glasses again. Eventually, both are half tackled by their significant others, and they both decide mentally that life isn't so bad. Far away, in a bedroom where the ocean waves can be heard crashing against the shore, a lean muscled blonde sneezes. Shaking himself awake, Naruto rubs his nose with a frown. Someone better not be talking about me. On one side, a naked Tayuya mumbles in her sleep, body rolling back towards him to throw a leg over his own. On the other, Ino doesn't so much of twitch, snoring lightly and clutching him like a giant pillow and pressing her chest into his side. Naruto shrugs, dropping back into sleep, and blaming the sneezing on Jiraiya. Everything was the pervert's fault after all. Chapter 36. Through the land of hot water and the land of spring, Uzushio was finding a new though small wave of mission requests that they were having to fill. Naruto and the members of Riptide could fulfill most, but it was beginning to get overwhelming. Thankfully there had been a few recent additions in their ninja ranks, and that now included the Chinoite clan. Naruto had promised them that if they had gone through their probation with no problems that he would personally carve out a new clan home for them, but they all decided that they wanted to work for it properly themselves, so instead they requested a different type of home in the meantime. Home was a metalworks warehouse. Hot and humid, air thick with steam and sweat, the building was meant to help meet the demands of the various construction orders around the growing city. Just one piece of a much larger picture, the clan was earning a name for themselves thanks to their bloodline abilities that allowed them to manipulate iron and mineral particles. So who better to help shape hot and malleable iron and steel than them? Many of the clan members who did not feel up for combat instead were making their living shaping and forming metal, the humid environment almost a breezy day compared to their previous home. It was still hard work, but they were happy. On the ascending floors high above the work floor, the entire complex was being converted for their clan's needs. They did not want to forget their roots, and while the exterior of the building was very much industrial requirements, the interior of their living quarters screamed traditional form and function. Today found En and Gosu facing off again, the more flashy man grinning, while Gosu sat with his arms crossed with a scowl on his face. Behind each sat an equal number of men and women who awaited their decision on what the clan would do. Tsunami had come by, 2 missions given to them with orders to have both completed ASAP. Everyone in Yuzu knew not to cross the woman. Sure, she continued to tell everyone she was just a civilian, but somehow they all knew. They'd die if she somehow stopped smiling one day. So, here they were, frowning and trying to decide who would go on the missions they had been given. One was a bounty job, some a rank Fire Nation runaway who apparently liked to torch villages, while the other was a request to escort the land of Spring Daimyo to the land of Frost. One was very important politically, while the other would earn a name for themselves as heavy hitters. Gosu considered taking the scroll for the bounty right away, before mentally he sighed. After being so thoroughly trounced by Lord Naruto, he had been rethinking things as of late. He needed to redeem himself, not just in combat but in his way of thinking. Leaning forward, he pushed the bounty scroll to En, much to the onlookers' gasps. "You hunt the bastard down." En raised an eyebrow. "You wouldn't normally pass up a chance to show off your strength. What's the catch?" Gosu shook his head, still frowning and crossing his arms. "Out of the 2 of us, you have the better skill. You'll have an easier time bringing this guy in, alive, than I would. And we get a bonus if he's alive." En sighed, nodding finally and relaxing. "That means you have to put up with potentially a prissy princess while they finalize aid between nations. Think you can stomach that?" Gosu closed his eyes with a grimace. "I'll do my best." Chuckles erupted from everyone around him and he slammed a hand on the floor. "Shut up. This is important, and if I gotta swallow my normal pride and do this, then I will. It's a few days, I can handle a few days of being proper." En and the others tapered off their laughter. Okay, my team takes the bounty, while your team takes the escort. We still have enough for guard duties, yes?" Behind him his wife leans forward. "We have things in hand here. Thanks to the border seals and the limited country traffic, there's little for us to do. We're more like a police force than anything. It's been pretty minor outside of some rowdy drunks." Her eyes sharpened pointedly at him specifically when she brought up that last point. En scratched his head while he received jeers from some of the others. Noted dear." Gosu smirked, whipped. Keiko, En's wife, leaned around to face Gosu as well. "And you? When are you going to do your duty and settle down? We have a home here now, we should be bolstering the clan. Stop being lazy." Gosu faltered a bit before nodding quickly. "Yes ma'am." En smirked. What was that about being whipped? The smack he received was well worth it. Laughter filled the room as they made more plans and armed up. They wanted to get these missions done and over with so they could have gleaming reports for their lord when he returned. They had a lot of time to make up for. Scene change, Conan was doing just as her leader had requested. Things had been different recently within the land of Wave, and though they were a small island nation, they had quickly centered themselves as a shipping hub that currently had no rival within Fire Nation borders. That did not bode well for the ruling elite there, but for now, Wave seemed protected. Conan was dressed in less obvious ninja attire, much simpler blue pants and a longer blue turtleneck. She had decided trying to blend in would be best. She wanted the opinions of the locals, and being a ninja would most likely have them clamming up in no time. Crossing the massive bridge, Conan set about her task. The town square was a busy affair, stalls and shops were open for business, and people from all over hustled about their errands. As she walked, she took it all in. In one shop, a bakery, a mother was being trailed by what most likely was her son as she shopped, the boy being dutiful and holding his mother's purchases. That the place was somewhat packed, but everyone seemed to be in good spirits, was a nice change. In the next shop, Conan had to lean out of the way as a pigtailed boy rushed by, arms full of heavy-looking bags as he rushed towards the docks. Must be a delivery boy, she figured. Miss. Hey. Why don't you try our takoyaki? Fresh ingredients all the time here in Wave. A man was calling to her over all the noise, and she figured she hadn't eaten today, so why not? Walking up to him, she produced several Rio bills. Fresh, you say? The man nods. Absolutely, here. Holding out a thin cardboard dish with several of the treats waiting to be eaten, he grinned as she took the tray from him. On the house for such a beauty. Enjoy your stay here. Conan raised her eyebrows. How do you know I'm visiting? The man winked at her. You all have a certain look to ya. He pointed away from them, towards the docks where she could make out a small walkway. There's an overlook there with a pretty amazing view. You should check it out if you have the time. Conan considered the man for a moment. She couldn't feel any chakra from him, so he wasn't a ninja. Can I ask a question, before that? Sure thing, Missy. How do you like this country? The man had his hands on his hips, shifting his weight from side to side as he thought about that. Eventually, he snapped his fingers, taking a deep breath. It's like breathing real good clean air after being stuck in a mine for a long time. Conan took that in for a moment before smiling softly. Thank you. I think I understand. Glad to help. Waving as she left, the man went back to calling out to potential customers. Conan herself weaved her way through the crowds as she did as he instructed, finding her way along cleanly paved streets as she enjoyed her snack. The smaller park area come overlook was just as he described, offering an amazing view of the shoreline and the port. Several larger container ships were docked and being unloaded or loaded, while even more smaller fishing vessels seemed to continue a steady stream in and out of the area. No wonder the work here was constant. She nearly missed the smaller woman sidling up next to her with a comfortable smile on her face. It's a beautiful day out, isn't it? Long blue hair tied back and braided. Dressed in pinks and reds, Conan wondered who this unassuming woman was. It is. Conan could be polite at least. The breeze feels rather nice as well. Tsunami nods, leaning against the railing as she realized she was getting a lot of practice in with greeting strange ninja. It's a perk of being an island nation. It's never too hot here. Here Tsunami turned to look at Conan fully, offering a short bow. I am Tsunami. It's wonderful to meet you, Ninja-san. Officially caught flat-footed, Conan watched the other woman warily. She had been told not to start a conflict here, only observe, but she didn't expect to be caught so quickly if at all. Did they have something like they did in Rain? My name is Conan. I'm sorry, have we met before? She hadn't felt a barrier, nor had she noticed any ninja following her. Tsunami shook her head. Oh no. I just always make it a point to greet powerful ninja who come to our country if my schedule allows. I was nearby, so I came. Nothing more or less. Call it curiosity. Well, that wasn't making Conan feel any better about this. Just as before with the other man, she couldn't feel any chakra from the woman, barely any at all. Was she suppressing it? A seal perhaps? Idly she suppressed her own chakra in order to dispel any genjutsu placed on her. Feeling and seeing nothing change, she sighed and realized she was at a disadvantage here. Curiosity is dangerous in this work. Tsunami nods. I've been told that repeatedly. I just can't help myself, however. Now that I've met you though, I think you'll be alright. Tsunami took a step back to make some distance between them. I'm sure you'll find your time here pleasant. We're in the middle of building a few new hotels and a new entertainment district. I'm sure you'll find something to satisfy you. Conan raised an eyebrow at that wording but didn't comment on it. Are you the leader here? Think of me more like a mayor. I answer to someone, but they aren't around right now. Would you permit me to meet your leader then, when they return? Tsunami seemed to watch her quietly for a minute, taking her in before her smile dimmed slightly. Possibly. Be warned, of course. There is no forgiveness for violence here in Wave. Conan suppressed the shiver she felt crawl up and down her spine. I'm just looking to talk, nothing more. This woman, Tsunami, truly was dangerous. Then it is a possibility. Tsunami turned to walk away. No one will bother you so long as you don't cause any trouble. With those parting words, the older woman was gone, leaving Conan to think on the encounter. How odd. Taking a bite of her treat, she eventually relaxed and turned her gaze back over the busy port. Find something to satisfy her, huh? Well, she did have time and she was supposed to figure out what was going on around here. Why not explore a bit? It was on Akatsuki's dime after all. Somewhere far away, Kakuzu sneezed and felt the urge to throttle someone. Scene change, days had passed and En with a team of 4 of his clan members were hot on the trail of their target. Affectionately calling himself Hinoiki, the shorter brown-haired man was rather easy to track down. He almost couldn't stop talking about his fires. An arsonist through and through it seemed. But he did have skill, leading them on a chase through the forests along the border of the Land of Fire and the Land of Noodles. They were gaining on him however, and Hinoiki was laughing about it. You fools, you think you can stop the mighty Hinoiki? Why, Hinoiki would be impressed if Hinoiki wasn't planning on burning you to a crisp, flipping in midair to spit fireballs at the group. The team scatters while one of En's teammates sighed. Please don't tell me he speaks in the third person all of the time. And had a feeling he did. Come on. By our usual, get around him and cut him off. I'll make the takedown and we can bring him in. Oh, you think it'll be that easy, huh? Why do you think Hinoiki has such a high bounty? Breathing deeply, Hinoiki began making hand seals. They all could feel the chakra levels rising within him and 2 of the Chinoite clan rushed forward to cover the others, hands blazing through seals. Greater Fire Dragon. Said dragon-shaped fire blast erupted from Hinoiki's lips, blazing straight and true for the group. Water Buttress. 2 sets of seals complete, water was pulled from the very air and formed into 2 complete walls. They held, churning the attack into steam that covered the area. En however was already racing ahead. Let's go. We can't lose him. Hinoiki never retreats. Hinoiki'll kill you first. Clothes damp from where he rushed through the heavy steam, Hinoiki was already working through several more seals as he again breathed deeply. Great fireball. En only had a moment before he dropped to the ground below, the branch he had been on incinerated in an instant. Hinoiki was hot on his heels however, making more seals. You've got to be kidding me. Hinoiki will roast you alive and watch you burn. There was another burst of white-hot fire, and En was forced to jump away as the very ground burned. I'm ending this. From the fire and covered in a thin layer of water, one of En's teammates had kunai out and was planning on taking out the other man's knees. You're going to burn is what you're going to do. Turning lightning fast, Hinoiki spat a smaller yet fast ball of fire that impacted with the man closing in on him. Mika. A woman's voice called from above the fire, several kunai impacting the group where Hinoiki was walking to close the distance between him and the downed Mika. Oh, was that your man? Don't worry, you'll be joining him soon. Several shuriken burst from the wall of fire to arc towards him, but more white fire melted them within seconds before they could ever reach him. En pushed chakra to his eyes, activating his Ketsuryugen with a smirk. Honestly, there was a reason we're the best at bounty hunting. He watched as Hinoiki began a longer chain of seals. Oh, why is that you kindling? Hinoiki was seconds away from firing another fire dragon and leapt towards En, the other 4 Chinoite clan members too slow behind him to stop him. And watched as Hinoiki touched down in front of him, chest expanding. He held out a hand and reached deeply for the iron in front of him. Did you know blood has a lot of iron in it? Freezing the man in his place, and watched the fire nature chakra seep from his lips as Hinoiki struggled against his body. What have you done to Hinoiki? Why can't Hinoiki move? En smirked, motioning down with his hands and bringing Hinoiki to his knees. Yeah. Our bloodline lets us do a few things. My specialty is more towards the iron manipulation. My rival Gosu? Much better with Genjutsu. Anyway. Time for you to go nighty-night. Fuck you. Hinoki won't be silenced. Hinoki must see more and more beautiful flames, and one of In's team members chopped him in the neck, knocking him out in seconds. Another pulled free one of the Uzumaki suppression seals, placing it on Hinoki's back to ensure he wouldn't be getting up anytime soon. Well, that was fun, boss? Everyone watched as Miko was picked up and hobbled over to them. Singed and wounded but alive. En nodded and wiped the sweat from his brow as he deactivated his dojutsu. Sure. Only took running nonstop for a full day and putting up with his bullshit. And watched as the others tied the man up and one hoisted him up on their shoulders. Let's get a move on. I want to be back home and handing this guy off first chance we can get. No job well done. No praise for the underlings? En smirked, looking each of them in the eye as they started back up into the trees. En can always start talking in the third person, cause En is already irritated and En needs some stress relief. The only woman of the group nearly chucked a kunai at him. Okay, we get it, boss. Chuckling, En led the way. This ended up being a rather easy job, though that was probably due more to a favorable matchup. No one knew of their skills after all. That'd take time. Time that they now had thanks to their lord. I wonder how Gosu is doing. Half a continent away in much colder climate, Gosu himself and a team of 4 men stood guard around the spring daimyo Koyuki as her travel coach bumped along the snow-covered road. While the driver urged the horses along and they passed through a sleepy-looking village, Gosu questioned again if this was the best call. Beyond bored, at least the spring daimyo had been focused on her work and planning and so far wasn't some prissy stuck-up aristocrat like he had assumed. Excuse me, Gosu? Could you come here for a moment? From the coach, Koyuki's voice floated from an open window. Jumping and holding onto the top rail, it was easy to rise along on the side of the cart as they bounced along. Yes, Lady Daimyo? Chuckling and moving the window shade aside, Koyuki shook her head. None of that. Koyuki will be just fine. Tell me, you've seen the land so far. What is your estimation of things? Gosu raised an eyebrow. Well, it's not really my place to dash. Koyuki shook her head again. I didn't ask if it was your place. Just your opinion. Please. Caught off guard, Gosu really took the time to think about what she was asking. Estimation of things? What the hell did that mean? Well, it's a hard place to live. But looks like the people are just as hard, probably stubborn as hell too. Why would anyone want to live in such a cold and dreary place? Koyuki giggles and waves a hand at Gosu's disgruntled look. You'll find us northerners think much differently than most. This has probably been these people's homes for generations. They'll do a lot to make sure they don't have to leave, I think. Thank you, Gosu. Relaxing back into her seat as she worried over a scroll and scribbled away, Gosu jumped down to walk next to one of his men. Odd woman that. Is Gosu starting to notice women finally? Gosu cuffed the man in the head. Hush, Jinta. Rumor is she's one of Lord Uzumaki's. That's why this mission is so important. Shit, boss. What's the plan then? Defend her to the last. This is for the clan, we can't let anything happen to her. Sure thing, I'll tell the other. See that you do. Watching the younger man trot off to the others, Gosu watched as the mansion was soon before them. Time to get to real work, it seemed. It wasn't long before they entered the former Frost Daimyo's mansion. He had been pleasantly surprised to find Koyuki was actually both very pleasant to be around and very focused. She didn't ask for much and had even told them a few times that if it wasn't for Naruto insisting that she would have come to this meeting alone. Gosu of course agreed with Naruto's estimation of things, but didn't voice his opinion. This was a daimyo. You did not talk back to a daimyo. Being led into an open seating room, they were all slightly surprised to find Frost Ninja here. Gosu was first to immediately come forward to cover Koyuki while the others behind him all reached for their weapons. The man in front of them, however, held out his hands and waved them for peace. Wait. I'm the one here for the meeting. He looked left and right behind him before sighing. Realizing that having 2 full squads of ninja probably put off the wrong impression. We haven't gotten around to replacing our daimyo yet, so I'm still running things until then. I am Yamamoto. Formerly just the captain of the guard, now apparently a stand-in for the daimyo. Koyuki edged her way around the much taller Gosu, smiling and placing a hand on his outstretched arm to show him things were okay. He lowered it, stepping aside though keeping an eye on the opposing group while the others put their weapons away. It's a pleasure to meet you, Yamamoto. I am the Spring Daimyo Koyuki. Sandae received your message that you wanted to talk about aid. Yamamoto nodded, motioning to the table and waiting for Koyuki to seat herself. Once she did, he did on the opposite side, twitching only slightly as the brutish-looking man stood tall at her side and refused to stop looking at him. Focusing, the former captain motioned to a man behind him who brought forward several documents. We've been finding all sorts of issues since our former daimyo was outed as a traitor. While of course now we have plenty of Ryo to fund recovery efforts, one of the major issues is going to be getting our people back and surviving this winter. Koyuki nods, looking over the paperwork while holding up a hand to snap a finger. One of Gosu's men came forward, a scroll gently placed in the waiting woman's hand. Spring can supply bulk food stores and winter supplies as long as you have payment. We wish to help, yes, but we aren't a charity. From reports, you should have run your daimyo out a long time ago. Yes, we've been working through that ourselves. It has been enlightening. Sure. Koyuki looked at the recent reports in front of her. Population numbers, border crossings, trade. It was all abysmal. I do have another option, of course. If you'd like to hear it. Yamamoto nodded. We are much more open to options these days. Koyuki clapped her hands together once, smiling brightly. That is wonderful to hear. Unrolling her scroll, she turns it to face Yamamoto. In truth, my nation is looking for partners and allies. We've already brokered alliances with the Land of Rice and the Land of Hot Water. We would love to add the Land of Frost to our list as well. You wouldn't be subservient to us, but equal. And as allies, we would happily share supplies at discounted rates along with helpful technology. Like an industrial rail line connecting you to your neighbors. Yamamoto frowned. A rail line? Koyuki nodded. Think a giant transport cart capable of transporting literal tons of material quickly over long distances. It's troubling to think about. We told the Maelstrom we would not be subservient to anyone. Ever. Koyuki pauses, eyes becoming chips of ice. Oh? Did I mention anything about subservience? I'm trying to help you help your people. By all means, pay full price for everything and go it your way if that's what you'd like. I won't stop you. Watch your tone, woman. The the random ninja who spoke up never finished as he locked eyes with a suddenly red-eyed Gosu. Everyone watched the interplay between the two before the Frost ninja gurgled and dropped to the floor, foaming at the mouth, but unconscious. Anyone else want to speak out of turn today? Unseen by Gosu, the rest of the Chinoite group all stepped forward, no weapons present, but they all projected an aura of intense malice. Koyuki coughed, and they all returned to their posts. That's enough, don't you think? And what did you do to him? Gokus nods quickly, deactivating his dojutsu. Sorry, my lady. And I don't think it would be polite to say to a lady. Humor me. Genjutsu. I made him believe he was a 13-year-old girl going through puberty. Oh my. Giggling, Koyuki waved his worried expression away. It was warranted. Naruto would have done much the same or worse if he was here. She looked up to him with a grin. Funny that, I'll have to thank him for sending someone who thinks much like he does. Across from them Yamamoto was sweating. I apologize. Behind him he could hear his downed ninja being dragged away. Things have been very tense these last few weeks. Koyuki sighs and places her hands on the table. As a leader, it is important to understand that not only do my decisions affect my relationships with other countries, but they also have consequences for the people under my rule. Emotions have no place here. I want to help, like I said, as we have the resources to do so. Here Koyuki held eye contact with the older man, but you have to want our help. If you don't, then there's no point to this. Yamamoto took his time thinking on it before sighing and nodding. We do want your help. We can't yet talk about alliances or partnerships. I truly wish to wait until we come up with a new daimyo. But for now, we can negotiate emergency aid. Koyuki nods. Splendid. Then let's get to it. Next to her, Gosu sighed and relaxed slightly as the meeting truly got underway and passed the posturing. This wasn't so bad after all, plus he did get to show off in the end anyway. Life was pretty good and she was going to put in a good word with Lord Naruto. Take that in. Scene change, back in Uzushio and within their city, a tired but happy team are entering the Uzumaki Tower through the more ninja-able entrance on the 4th floor. That being a simple open and wide balcony that led straight into the ninja offices. Still rather bare, they still could see a growing staff of mainly record keepers and specialists. Some were Chinoite clan members themselves, and N waved at them proudly. Towards the center of the room was a wide circular desk where 4 women were either accepting reports or dealing them out. Still not enough mission traffic to worry them just yet. All attention slowly turned to his team however as he held up a scroll with his report, while behind him Mika dropped Hinoiki to the floor. Bounty retrieval was a success. Got him alive at that. The woman behind the desk, a pretty blonde with long braided hair and thick glasses, blinked as she looked over the counter at the man on the floor. Tan skin shining in the lights, she eventually nods and takes the report scroll from him. Team name? Team N. Understood. The woman turned to the far wall where several golem were waiting. I need one for processing. Raising her voice, she was rewarded with one of the golem breaking away from the others to come up and take the bound man from the floor. Silent as the grave, the golem walked away to a special elevator only accessible from this floor. You've just returned, you have the usual 48 hours before you're allowed to take another mission. Rest periods are mandatory. N nods and motions to his crew, understood. We'll take it easy. Waving at the cute woman, he nearly misses seeing Gosu and his team showing up. Look who it is. Gosu grins, walking up to clasp forearms with his rival. I'll assume your mission was a success. Of course, same for you then? Piece of cake. Even got a recommendation from the daimyo. Gosu stepped away so he could hand in his mission scroll. Well, isn't that a nice bonus? Think we'll get a real bonus from Lord Uzumaki for it? Gosu shrugged as he leaned against the counter. Who knows, it'd be nice. Turning his eyes to the pretty blonde, Gosu smirked. Team Gosu back from our daimyo escort mission. Holding out his report scroll, the woman took it with a flush. Mission status will be recorded. Standard 48 hours downtime as well. Even though we didn't see any combat? We're still fired up and ready to do something. The woman shook her head. I'm sorry, rules are rules. Well, if you say so. Another voice rose above the noise. You'll get used to it. Our resident medical professionals recommended the rest periods after all. Don't want to piss them off. From the elevator came another team of 4. The Riptide members were in high spirits. Tayuya, Kotoheim, and Karen were joking and laughing with each other, though the 4th woman, a shorter purple-haired girl covered in bandages, certainly wasn't one of them. Team Riptide, we didn't expect you back so quickly. Tayuya grins, coming up to the desk and depositing her mission scroll with one of the other receptionists. We were motivated, plus, Karen has a lot of setting up to do. The others formed up near the desk with her as they talked and gossiped back and forth. Gosu, however, was interested in the shorter girl with them. Something about her was captivating. He missed N coming up to shove an elbow in his ribs. Hey there, airhead, come on, let's get home. Yeah, let's go. And caught his hesitation, eyes trailing towards where Gosu was looking. Everyone knew the Riptide members were off limits. But he could tell he was more interested in the newcomer. Oh ho, so Shorty is your type. Gosu turned to N frantically, pushing the suddenly laughing man away and towards the balcony. Shut it. Come on, you bastard. We get to drink and celebrate. N is laughing up a storm as the others form up around them. I'm guessing you really did take Keiko's scolding to heart, huh? I'm so telling. Shut it. Behind them, Isaribi watched the rowdy group leave as Tayuya told the receptionist their story. What an interesting bunch. Chapter 37. The Uzumaki mansion was normally a lively and upbeat space, the living room usually the center hive of activity, besides the baths. Being just after lunchtime and with everyone present, they should be either relaxing or making plans to head out for either missions or help around Uzushio. Today, however, found Naruto fretting and double-checking things with his group. The message finally came. Tsunade had let him know that the daimyo was finally ready to meet with him to settle some things and begin making plans for the future. This meant it was time to head back to Konoha, and the girls wouldn't be letting him make this trip alone. That meant everyone he cared for would be in that shitty village, and that meant they would be in danger. He didn't like that. So here he was, pacing and making sure everyone was prepared for the trip. Repeatedly. The girls were humoring him, but it was beginning to get old. Naruto walked by a couch holding Ino and Hinata, one hand rubbing the back of his head. You have my spare shadow clones, right? Hidden and transformed? Ino nodded with a bemused expression that was matched by Hinata. Yup. 4 of them in fact, and our Horatian tattoos are primed and ready as well. She didn't want to belittle his worrying. It was cute. But it was starting to get old. They weren't China dolls. They could defend themselves. Walking past Tayuya and Karen, Naruto paused to look at them. You have your masks right? How's your yuzu seal doing? Need any adjustments? Tayuya groaned as she and Karen both pouted. Everyone has their masks sealed away, and you've checked my seal yourself 3 times. You know it's good. Naruto nodded, not really hearing her completely as he turned to look at Kotoheim. Are you sure you don't want to stay here? You know, just in case? Kotoheim shook her head. Where you go, we go. You know that. Naruto started pacing again. I don't want to take chances. We're going to be meeting with the daimyo, and I want to make sure that at a moment's notice, you all can flash away. I mean it too. The first sign of danger, I want you all to use the stored chakra and flash back here. Don't wait for me. There's not even an attempt for anyone to voice an agreement as Naruto starts pacing again, before all of the assembled women who were attached to Naruto finally looked to Hinata, the one most likely able to break his chain of thought. Sighing, the former Hyuga nods before reaching out when he starts to pass her. He offers no resistance while on autopilot, not perceiving her as a threat, which means it is easy for her to drag him to his knees and thrust his face into her chest. Beloved, you must relax. You're working yourself up over nothing. Tayuya grins and relaxes back while Karen leans into her side. We can give you a massage in the bath. That always mellow us out. It also fired them up for more fun activities at the end of the day. Kotoheim shakes her head. Maybe a song and dance from yours truly? Clothing might be optional for the dance, who knew? Ino smirks and licks her lips. I'll suck your Hinata smacks her. Must you? Leave it to her friend and fellow Leaf Village expat to cut right to the chase. Everyone else was beating around the bush. No reason to be coy here. She knew what she wanted and knew what Naruto would enjoy. Why waste time? On another couch and until now almost ignored, Kin and Sasami clear their throats. Is Konoha really going to be this much of a problem? Sasami voiced her own question while Yugo watched quietly. He'd never seen Naruto so worried before. It was an odd thing to witness. Ino shook her head while Naruto began to squirm in Hinata's embrace. Not really. Naruto just worries because some old men are plotting behind the scenes. He could level the village with a thought if it got that far. Yugo nods. Well, then we will be prepared all the same. This would be their first official chance to operate as the Uzumaki clan's guards. He could not see himself failing this now. Flailing much more frantically, Hinata finally lets Naruto go, who gasps for air. Kami, it would have been a great way to go, but he still had too much to do for now. Okay, sorry. I get I'm worrying too much. I'll try to relax. Tayuya points at him as he finally stands, though he squeezed Hinata's hand briefly. You can always level the village and be done with it. Naruto shakes his head. That's a last resort sort of thing. There are good people in Konoha, you know. Karen is quietly thinking away while Tayuya and Naruto banter back and forth, before she snaps her fingers and draws everyone's attention. We should make this a flashy affair. Naruto is suddenly very interested in what she has to say. Flashy? Karen nods. Yeah. Let's act the full part. We're the reborn and rebuilding Uzumaki clan. That means fancy clothes, special guards, the works. She had her own idea of the guards, beyond just Yugo and the Fuma girls. Her latest project with the Spring Engineers finally bearing some real fruit. Naruto, however, is letting the idea build in his mind. That would be fun. Yeah, we should do that. Shove it in Konoha's face what they lost. Great idea, Karen. Turning and missing the girl blush with a smile, he finally lands on Tsunami, who is sitting alone in a cushy chair. Think you'll be okay with Yuzu for a few days? Tsunami nods. With the Chinoite clan helping out like they have been, it won't be a problem. They've been acclimating to Uzushio splendidly. On your orders, they're holding off on missions for now and running guard duty within our borders. Naruto grins. Good. Let En and Gosu know I'll have a bonus for them when we return as long as you praise them for their performance. Tsunami bows lightly. They'll love that. Naruto turns to the others. Well, everyone, let's get dressed then. I'll make some clones and we can flash just outside of Konoha. Watching everyone stand and head to their rooms, or his in a lot of cases, the blonde turns back to Tsunami. Want anything from Konoha? Tsunami shakes her head, just for you all to return safely. Naruto's grin widens even further. That's an easy promise. We'll all return when this is over. He'd make sure of it, no matter what. He missed Ino and Tayuya coming back to drag him towards his room. Hey. Ino shakes her head. You're changing as well. She's pulling him along by the hand while Tayuya pushes his back. Plus, we weren't kidding, you need to relax a bit before we go. Naruto sighed. I don't have a say in this, do I? From somewhere Hinata's voice rang out, our word is law. Naruto finally submits and nods. Hi, your word is law. He wasn't really going to complain after all. Might take them a little longer to get to Konoha, but that was fine. The daimyo could wait. Scene change. True to Naruto's thoughts, the group now minus Tsunami did end up taking a bit longer to get ready before they could leave. He wasn't complaining, well, unless one counted his grumbling about being in the land of fire in the first place. Having flashed to an empty section of road just outside of Konoha, the group was dressed and ready for the occasion. Karen, however, was kneeling down on the ground with a large scroll unrolling from the small of her back. There was a large plume of smoke and the group found themselves surrounded by her handmade golem she had constructed with the Kamenu mask. These, however, had been modified, wearing samurai armor that had been infused with technology from Spring's ninja armor. Fully covered, one wouldn't be able to tell these weren't normal people unless they really paid attention to them. Or tried to speak to them. Karen watches as Naruto takes her work in and fidgets with her hair. This was the latest project made jointly with the Spring engineers. With some work, I hope to use these guys as an interim police force, and eventually a supplementary addition to the Flesh and Blood force. The Chinoike are doing a great job, but they could use the help. Naruto, however, nods, giving her a thumbs up. They're amazing, and it really shows that you've worked hard. Thanks, Karen. Blushing, Karen nods and tucks her hair behind an ear. Oh, of course. Naruto takes them all in. The girls were dressed in matching blue kimono. Each girl has a personalized color pattern along the edges. Each bears the Uzumaki crest in bright red on their back. Yugo, Kin, and Sasami have changed into black and orange-themed outfits to denote themselves as Riptide members, along with donning their own Uzumaki masks. Sasami and Kin both bear the more basic yellow Oni masks, denoting their minor lightning chakra affiliation, while Yugo bears the full Okame mask. Naruto himself turns to face Konoha in the distance, his own deep blue, almost black jinbei included his usual orange. That followed to his own Uzumaki crest on his back, orange and bright, at its center is a fox head, mouth bared and full of teeth. I think we should turn it up once we arrive. Act the part, pretend Konoha isn't worth our time, and get out of here with nothing too crazy happening. Naruto had finally relaxed, so now he was ready to have some fun with it. Karen directed the disguised golem to form up around them as guards as they began to walk. Only way this would be more of a statement would be if we arrived on a palanquin. Yugo, Kin and Sasami took the lead, forming the head of their little procession. Maybe next time? Yugo would never pass up a chance to show off his lord and his greatness. He'd have to talk with Tsunami and Tazuna about a palanquin's construction. Naruto takes the lead of the rest, just behind Yugo, summoning Gamakichi with a few hand seals. Hey Kichi. Hey bro, what's up? Can you let Granny Tsunade know that we're coming? Sure thing, she's got some great candy recently. The little toad saluted and then was gone. Hinata and Ino formed up on his left and right, smirking and leaning into him. This'll be fun. Ino had her own ideas of how to spend the next few days. Behind them, Kotohime nodded. Dare say this little play will be worth the effort. She looked back to Karen and Tayuya bringing up the rear. I'm sure someone's efforts will be rewarded properly. She smirked internally at the blush that blossomed on Karen's face, while Tayuya poked her in the sides repeatedly. Poor dear really needed to realize Naruto didn't require her to have great deeds to love her so. He just did. She'd learn soon enough. A few miles away towards the center of Konoha in the Hokage Tower, Tsunade is sitting behind her desk while conducting a meeting with Jiraiya and Shikaku. Today was about coordinating guard details and wall defense while the daimyo was here on his visit to meet with the Uzumaki clan. They could not have any hiccups or altercations within their borders. Never mind the daimyo, Tsunade was not going to put up with anything happening to that family on her watch if she could help it. She would absolutely pack up and leave with Shizune if Naruto decided Konoha wasn't worth it. Shikaku is pointing at a map on her desk. we have Umbu squads posted here, here, and here. Each pause was punctuated with a stab of his finger. The elder Nara was already over having the daimyo in their village so often. Hopefully things would be resolved soon. Jiraiya shrugged, the seals all along the wall are as strong and reinforced as they can be. No one is getting in or out of the village without getting some type of alert straight on your desk. He had personally gone over every inch of the wall this last month. He still couldn't figure out how Orochimaru got in so easily, but he'd have that answer soon enough if he dug far enough. Tsunade nodded, I've sectioned off one of the more ritzy hotels for Naruto's use while he is here officially. It's a bonus that it's close to the daimyo as well, so they should be able to meet as often as they need. The Hokage pauses as Gamakichi appears on her desk with a cheeky salute. Heya. Naruto is on his way and should be at the gate soon. Tsunade nods, a small bag of candy already appearing before the toad, okay. We'll go greet him. Thanks. Gamakichi grabbed his loot and left. Bro wanted him as far away from danger as possible, and he wasn't suicidal enough to stick around. Jiraiya sighed, moment of truth is here huh? Shikaku nods, one way or another, things are going to get resolved. Tsunade is already standing, throwing her jacket on and even grabbing the Hokage hat for good measure. Let's make it official, time to get to work. Shikaku nods, heading for the door, I'll inform the daimyo. Waving away, the scarred Nara elder was out the door and gone within moments. Jiraiya sighs, following along behind Tsunade as Shizune forms up with them. Is there a real chance of anything going wrong here? Any problems you can think of? Tsunade groans, oh, besides the fact that the daimyo picked probably the two worst members of the council to talk with Naruto? Nah, everything should go just peachy. The older woman shook her head as they descended the stairs, short of those Akatsuki fucks showing up things should be fine. Jiraiya chuckles, my, such naughty language. Tsunade holds a fist up and cracks her knuckles, remind me again who is part of my daily stress? Seeing the man begin to sweat, Tsunade grins, that's what I thought. Now let's get a move on. I doubt the daimyo will come out to meet Naruto at the gate, he'll want to meet Naruto directly at his room, leaving this for us. Pompous old wishy-washy bastard. If he wasn't her, daimyo Tsunade would happily toss him over the horizon for making her daily life harder with all of this. Outside Konoha, the citizens were not aware yet of just who was making their way towards the village gates. That said, the eternal gate guard pair of Izumo and Kotetsu, a Chunin pair who long are used to getting in trouble and being stuck in this position, are the first to spot the Uzumaki and their entourage. Being amazed at the collection of young and beautiful women, they nearly miss the burly-looking samurai halting around the group while a taller orange-haired man with a pale oake mask steps forward to present identification paperwork for everyone. Izumo is the one to catch up first, taking the paperwork and asking the usual questions, reason for visit? Yugo nods his head as he accepts the paperwork back, just a meeting with the Land of Fire daimyo. The Uzumaki clan does not plan on being within the village for longer than a week. Izumo nods, eyes raking over the aloof-looking Naruto who has a real beauty of a woman whispering into his ear from behind, yeah, just the usual then. Keep away from ninja-related areas and no violence towards citizens without just cause. You are guests here. Yugo nods again, there shouldn't be an issue unless we are provoked then. Thank you. Nodding towards one of the samurai golem, Yugo leads the group into the village proper, the golem group keeping a healthy perimeter around everyone else. As they walk down the main road towards the Hokage Tower, the group keeps their heads high, either conversing with themselves or flatly ignoring the Konoha populace. Said citizens are beginning to take note of the group, quiet whispers leading to excited recognition as many finally clue in that Naruto himself was here and back. Some don't recognize him right away, especially without his large sword or headband on. Coming up to the group, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Shizune are standing in the middle of the road, a small detail of Umbu with them as well. The golem part to allow the groups to merge a bit, Yugo and his cell standing aside while Naruto, Ino, and Hinata greet the older trio. Hey brat, good to see you back. Tsunade is smirking at the boy while she tilts the Hokage hat to block the sun. Naruto is grinning as well, must have taken a lot to get you to wear the hat. I'm honored. You better be. This is all bullshit really. Tsunade rolls her eyes as Naruto chuckles, you ready? Much as I can be. We've still got a beach house ready for you if things go tits up. Seaside home with lots of booze? Do I really have to wait for things to go bad? I can retire and give the hat to Kakashi. I'm sure he'd like it. Shizen sighs, Tsunade-sama. Naruto turns his eyes to Jiraiya, who is doing his best not to rake his eyes over the assembled women present. Man granny, you really did a number on pervy sage, huh? Haven't seen him show such self-control like, ever. Tsunade nods, it's a work in progress. Slow going, but we're getting there. Jiraiya sighs, I'm right here you know. Naruto flips him a one-finger salute, tell me you don't deserve the teasing? Tsunade points a finger at the older man to keep him from opening his mouth, you do and you know it. She turns honey-colored eyes his way, so just nut up and bear it. You'll get a treat later. Shizune and Naruto both pout identically, gross. Tsunade grins, prudes. Hands on her hips as they're beginning to draw a crowd, Tsunade produces and hands over a scroll, you're all set up in the Hokage's retreat, a hotel not far from the tower. You have the top floor all to yourselves. Once you're settled in, the daimyo will be coming to greet you. Naruto nods, taking the scroll with a smile, gotcha. We'll head out then. Come visit us afterwards, okay? Tsunade nods, will do, now get going. You're throwing off the village standing around here. Happy on all fronts, the groups part ways. The Uzumaki camp making for their hotel, while Tsunade and her group watch them go. Kid is taking to it well. Leadership seems to suit him. Jiraiya shrugs, oh something seems to suit him just fine. Tsunade giggles, is that jealousy I hear? Nope. Not at all. Jiraiya was absolutely vibrating in place as he watched one of the girls nearly drape herself across Naruto as they walked. He just knew that kid was up to more than he let on. So much research potential, just waiting to be tapped. Tsunade finally takes pity on him and taps him on the shoulder. Come on you old goat, let's get moving back towards the tower. She still hadn't decided if the old pervert deserved a chance. But he was making improvements. She could at least acknowledge that. Scene change, reaching the appropriate floor, the fire daimyo flanked by Danzo and Hayashi started down the hallway leading to the Uzumaki suite. They had been informed that Naruto and his group had arrived within Konoha, and they had gotten together right away. The daimyo wanted to get things off on the best foot possible. Turning back to both men, the daimyo smiles, remember, it is imperative that things go smoothly here. This is a prominent clan that has the potential to do a lot of good for our nation. Danzo agrees with him, nodding along with his words, while Hayashi is silent. He personally believed the Uzumaki were a non-factor, much like the Uchiha. The Hyuga had done more within the village recently than either of the other clans, but today wasn't the day to bring that up. All three come to find the double doors to the mentioned hotel suite. On either side of the door are tall, fully armored and armed samurai. Had the Uzumaki employed the services of the Land of Iron? That would be concerning if they had. The daimyo holds up a hand, smile still firmly in place, we are here to meet with Lord Uzumaki, if you would let them know we've arrived. All of the men wait as the samurai give them their customary silent treatment. Before one leans over to knock on the door with an armored hand. Within moments, the door is opened, a orange-haired girl opens the door slowly, coming out to take in the three men waiting there. Good afternoon, Lord Daimyo. Right this way please. Opening one half of the doors, Kin opening the other, the three elders are led inside the room. The initial entrance room is empty, but beyond that they can see a wide sitting room where they can see Naruto sitting on the center of a couch. He is surrounded by his group, mostly beautiful women of varying ages. Only one isn't sitting on the couch, leaned over the back of it and draping herself over Naruto's shoulders. The long black-haired woman was whispering into his ear, which produced a laugh from him. Kin and Sasami draw everyone's attention, turning aside and motioning to the intruders of the day. Lord Uzumaki, the fire daimyo is here. Kin's voice is carefully modulated in an attempt to sound much more like her older sister. Naruto looks up, smirking internally at the curious-looking daimyo, while Danzo and Hayashi especially seems frustrated. They wouldn't show it, but he could definitely tell. Standing, the Uzumaki clan head bows to the men, good afternoon gentlemen. Guess it's finally time for us all to get on the same page? The pair of Kin and Sasami lead the men around to sit together on the smaller couch, facing the Uzumaki group. From there both girls stand to await orders, while Naruto sits back down between Ino and Hinata. I'm here for a few days at least so we can hash things out. That alright with you? The daimyo nods, first removing a scroll from his robes to hold out towards Naruto, of course. We want to get things back on track after all. To that end, I have a gift for you and your clan. He allowed Kin to take the scroll from him, the shorter girl taking it to a waiting Yugo off to the side who looked it over and checked for seals and traps. The daimyo, however, was used to such empowered on, we tried and executed the council members who stole from you. Calculated, we found roughly 100 million ryo stolen from your clan. Though I regret that through the executions, we were only able to recover just about 30 million as a result. There are other options on the table, however. The daimyo knew he was not a ninja, but he had ninja specifically for estimating the value of ninja skills and knowledge. They had told him, repeatedly, that the Uzumaki's knowledge was nearly invaluable, but they had given him figures all the same. Such an amount would probably fund a small country for a year or two, but not much further. For a clan? That could equate to a decade worth of time. Naruto idly watched as Yugo checked the scroll over and nodded, handing the scroll back to Kin, who then took it to Karen, who accepted it and slipped it into the folds of her kimono with a smile. Well, it's a start, I guess. That doesn't account for the year's worth of abuse and misdeeds against me from members of this village. Both civilian and ninja. What's to be done about that? It's here that Danzo picks up the conversation. They had agreed that anything dealing with the past would go through him. We believe that, in the interest of fairness, we could find a way to bury any accumulated animosity up till now. As I'm sure you can understand, there is no way for Konoha to fix everything that has happened to you. It just isn't possible. We can't bring back the dead after all. Hopefully he could convince Naruto that they really were trying their best here. They weren't, not by a long shot, but this child shouldn't require it in the long term. Naruto thinks about what Danzo says, while Ino leans to speak into his ear. Naruto makes a show of listening as she holds up a hand to cover her lips. How about we end this right away? That offer from earlier to suck you off is still very, very valid. Naruto keeps his poker face, nodding and humming along before Ino leans away to relax into the couch like she didn't just fill his head with perverted thoughts. Lewd woman. Being honest and fair here, since we've actually met up like you said you would. The Uzumaki doesn't really have much of a reason to come back to Konoha anyway. Think about it. More than being slighted, my clan has been betrayed by our oldest and closest allies. We might be able to continue some sort of partnership in the future, but right now, we just can't trust Konoha anymore. Our goal right now is to rebuild our clan. As Danzo's face sours, Hayashi steps in, mind already latching on to a possibility. As I'm sure you're aware then, the Hyuga clan is more than willing to assist the Uzumaki with any and all endeavors they wish to embark on. As my precious daughter has no doubt brought to your attention, we only wish to make right the sins of the past. Hayashi mentally berated both the daimyo and Danzo. Had they done no research on the boy? Surely they had better things to try to latch onto than honor and history. The boy didn't care about those things. The Hyuga is an old clan, much as the Uzumaki. We can offer political and financial assistance at the drop of a hat when required. Naruto sighs, that would be nice. But I'm sure we won't be needing any of that from the Hyuga clan. Personally, dealing with a clan that happily enslaves a portion of their own people just does not sit well with us. Slavery is wrong, even if you tie a nice little bow on it and call them your branch family. Naruto gave a real pointed look towards Hayashi, who scowled in return. So he didn't like being called out directly? Tough titties. Danzo stepped back in again, realizing this was spiraling out of control quickly. A tactical retreat might be in order. I would hope, with our long history, the Uzumaki would at least remain allies of Konoha. We should at least have a chance to make amends for the wrongs that have been done. Surely you can see we are making an effort here. Danzo didn't want to resort to force. While the daimyo couldn't see it and Hayashi was too short-sighted, Danzo knew a revitalized Uzumaki would only be beneficial to the leaf. We could ensure the safety of your clan until your numbers have improved. Naruto didn't even have to really think about that argument. Knowing Danzo's most likely game. Sure, the old man wanted to allege that he only had Konoha's best interests at heart. But really it was his version of Konoha that he was interested in. Naruto had no interests in that. He had no reason to admit that they had already rebuilt Uzushio and were expanding, he'd let them figure that out on their own like everyone else. With the rate of their current industry expansion, they'd be on the world stage soon enough. We're going to rebuild our clan on our terms for now, and after these next few days' worth of talks, we'll be returning there. Who knows, we might have more common ground before we leave. Here Naruto relaxed back fully into the couch, girls on either side of him, or not. Danzo gets the message loud and clear. They had pushed Naruto too far even before all of this. He had already made up his mind when he left the first time. Now however with him here they could pull back and brainstorm their negotiations more thoroughly. There had to be a way to bring this boy back around to their way of thinking. Next to him, Hayashi is thinking of his own clan and goals, and isn't thinking on the same wavelength as Danzo. Lord Uzumaki. And did it rankle Hayashi to address Naruto as such? I see that my eldest daughter is wearing your crest now. If she is now a full member of your clan, that brings up that she'll need to decide on her responsibilities to the Hyuga. She is my heir, that's not a title to just throw away. Pride, a truly deadly sin. Naruto is frowning as he leans forward a bit, and both Danzo and the daimyo realize Hayashi pushed too far. My love has informed me of just what the Hyuga really thinks of myself and my clan. Honestly, I don't appreciate it. Thankfully though, Hinata had deemed to give up the Hyuga name and her titles. She is Hinata Uzumaki. She will stay Hinata Uzumaki, and the Uzumaki don't abandon their own. She's learned this lesson through and through. Your true heir Hanabi might learn a thing or two from her older sister. Hayashi twitches, realizing too late much as the others that he had underestimated the boy. As you say, Lord Uzumaki. He would not take this slight unchallenged. No. This boy would learn his place. Just as that failure of a daughter would. Finally having enough of the two men he was realizing he should not have brought along with him, the daimyo clapped his hands together. Well, it is my hope, truly, that the Uzumaki clan will give the Land of Fire a change to make amends and forge a new relationship with time and hard-earned effort. Your clan seems to value hard work highly, yes? Naruto nods, that's true. Hard work should be rewarded. Hinata leans over slowly, much as Ino, a hand is covering her mouth as she whispers her words into his opposite ear. Maybe later you and I can sneak into the Hyuga clan home? I want you to take me on top of Hayashi's desk. Repeatedly. Oh yes, that was very productive to the conversation, wasn't it? Sighing heavily and not having to fake it this time, Naruto shakes his head. The Uzumaki will visit Konoha from time to time. We do wish to keep relationships here as open as possible. It'll be slow going, but I'm sure we can forge a path to a better future. Naruto however reaches into his shirt, pulling free 3 different leaf headbands. I'll have to return these however. We can no longer remain ninja of the leaf. We can't focus on the clan and Konoha at the same time. Who knows, maybe our children might think differently. Danzo completely realizes just how botched these discussions have gone. He had assumed Naruto was much as any other young boy his age. Wooed by women and possibly money. No. Here he was seated across from a new but fast-learning leader. Dedicated to his people. Dangerous. The mental switch was easy to make from here. He had heard the rumors of some new village somewhere coming to life. He now had a hunch it was the Uzumaki. He'd need to both find it and infiltrate it quickly. The balance of power must be maintained. If that meant sacrificing one of the other major villages to do so, he would. If it meant sacrificing the Uzumaki, well, he'd done it once before. Hayashi was fully frowning now, mentally preparing a conversation with his own clan council. They would need to take steps to brand Hinata with the cage seal, and soon. Unless she could be brought back to heel and obedience. It would be nice if Hinata would come visit. There are clan-related secrets she needs to learn in regards to her dojutsu, and I'm sure her sister would appreciate a visit. Simple and effective. Naruto nods slowly. If Hinata wishes to visit, then she will. I won't force her, and neither will you. Yeah, over his dead body really. The daimyo sighs, realizing again that this first meeting was just about as much of a disaster as it could be. I do hope, for the next few days, we can straighten things out and come to a more agreeable position between ourselves. Naruto slowly stands, prompting the other men to do the same. We'll be here for a few days. The girls want to wander around, meet people, say goodbyes. You know how it is. He didn't have to mention that there would be guards with them just about around the clock. The daimyo bows first, prompting the other men to do the same. Then Lord Uzumaki, I wish you well and hope we can work towards a bright and new future ahead of us. Naruto returns the bow, likewise. To new beginnings. Honestly, they should be happy he didn't just blow the place to hell. The men exchanged pleasantries with Naruto before Kin and Sasami escorted them out. Left alone as the hotel doors close finally, the group collectively breathes a sigh of relief. Tayuya has an arm around Ino's shoulders. So what was that I heard you whispering? You slut you. Ino waves her off, for Naruto? Absolutely. Hinata was blushing as Karen poked and prodded at her. It was nice to see my father so frustrated. Ino smirked, I'm sure that plan of yours will really make him frustrated. Tayuya is still grinning, want to share with the class on that one? Ino shook her head as Hinata waved her hands back and forth, oh no. That one is a total surprise if it happens. Karen relaxes back into the couch, thoughts whirling, the Hyuga are going to be a problem. Hinata nods, of course they are. They're Hyuga, they're always a problem. Clenching a fist, Naruto grins, if Hayashi tries anything, then I'll just have to show him just how I tossed around 3 different sannin. Standing and stretching, Ino groans, so by now we're good to explore and see our friends and family? She wanted to check in with her parents at least. Yeah. Naruto nods and looked to everyone, no one goes out alone. Stay in pairs, and keep my clones with you. Ino nods, grabbing Karen and a surprised Tayuya, they need to meet the parents too, so we're heading off. Dragging the Uzumaki girls through the door, they were off in a flash. Hinata leans into him, kissing him softly before standing and smiling, I should go track down Kurenai-sensei and my old team. Yugo, Kin and Sasami are standing and ready, we will escort you then, just in case. Hinata smiles, that'd be appreciated, plus I'm sure Kurenai will get a kick out of it. Turning and winking at Naruto, the other group makes their leave as well. Left alone, Naruto crosses his arms and thinks over his options. Should he stay? Or should he indulge and go visit the one place he knew he could get some quality ramen for once? It had been a long time since he had been able to have any after all. Plan forming in his mind, he's already standing as Kotoheim comes around to latch onto his side. I hope you didn't forget about me, my lord. Naruto grins, a hand snaking around her waist, of course not. Time to introduce you to my other love. Ramen. The doors to the suite are opening however, and Tsunade's voice calls out, belay that. We have drinking and catching up to do. Holding up a very large bottle of sake, she's flanked by Kakashi and Team 7. Sakura is leaning around and smiling with a sealing scroll waving in her fingers. I brought enough ramen to fill an army, don't worry. Nearly tearing up, Naruto grins brightly, you're the best Sakura. Gotta make sure my brother-in-law gets his fix. Kotoheim raises her own eyebrows, along with Sasuke, in-law? Naruto grins as he hooks a thumb at Sasuke, oh yeah, I adopted Sasuke. He's an Uchiha, but Sakura and him are going steady now. Kotoheim looks them both over, I see. Tsunade, however, is already thrusting a full cup in his face, less talking, more drinking. We got shit to talk about. Unless you feel like you can't keep up. Naruto takes the cup, smirking and downing his drink easily, you're on Bossan. We have a lot to tell you anyway. This was how it was supposed to be. Easy laughs and good company. Those old geezers could learn from Tsunade. Omake, beneath the Uzumaki Tower in Uzushio, was a well-lit workshop on the basement level. It was here that Karen had built her own hideaway workshop. In this space, she experimented with her golem and seals, much as Naruto did somewhere outside of the village. Tonight, however, Karen is considering either packing it up or taking a soldier pill to keep herself going. On the wall before her is a drawing board with animal drawings and seal diagrams for new ideas she wanted to try out. It wasn't like most of them would actually work out, but some would. Could. Maybe. She wasn't sure right now. Maybe sleep was for the best. So out of it, she didn't hear Naruto walking up behind her. She did squeak, however, when strong arms wrapped around her from behind. She wasn't worried however, the proximity seals wouldn't have let anyone not of Uzumaki blood in this place. Not without some loud and messy results. She sighs, leaning into him with some relief. You're working yourself so hard. Wanna tell me why? Me? I'm not working that hard. Nah, you're imagining things. I just want to make sure that Uzushio sticks around this time is all. She wasn't looking to see the ruined landscape and rubble that had become the previous Uzushio when they had first arrived. Naruto can agree with that as well. I get it. But you have to admit. You've done so much. We now have your modified samurai golem being used as a portion of the police force with the Chinoite clan. You have golem disguised as animals within the surrounding forests used in early warning systems linked to our seal barriers. Then you have your real nasty work in the ocean out Yuzu as well. You've been real busy, Karen. More than anyone else. Karen pulls forward, coming out of his arms, to turn and face him with teary eyes. Was he here to belittle her work? What was this? I just want to match up to you, that's all. I don't want to be left behind or considered weaker than the others. You all. Everyone has done such amazing things. You're all super powerful or amazingly skilled, but me? I'm just the book-smart girl who always needs to be protected or saved. Shoulders trembling, she hadn't meant to dump on him like that. But her insecurities just boiled free for once. Naruto could see that as well. Gently taking one of her hands into his own, he motioned around the room with his other. Look here. Look at all you've done. No one else could have done all of this. Not even half of it. Your work is protecting our citizens, Karen. Your work is helping advance Uzushio into the next age. But it's not a competition. You could stop right now. Pack all this up. I would still love you, the others would still accept you. We'll never leave you behind. Hearing him say it to her face, the shorter girl pulls him into a hug, burying her face into his chest. I love you. While he couldn't hear her perfectly, he could just make out that she was telling him she loved him over and over. Shaking his head with a smile, Naruto wraps his arms around the petite girl. She pulls away slightly, not leaving his arms, but looking up to him clearly. I was scared. Scared of being abandoned, of being used up like my mom. You know I'd never do that. And if you keep this up you're going to work yourself to death. Just like all of you convinced me to take a break, I think it's time you do the same. You'll never leave me? It's a lifetime promise. Mean it? Absolutely. Even if Naruto brought a hand up to her chin, tilting her up to look at him clearly. Until the stars burn out and the universe folds in on itself. I'll never leave you. Chuckling and shaking her head, Karen gave him a teary smile. I'm pretty sure you won't live that long. Doesn't matter, I made a promise. I'll keep it. Naruto is only a little caught off guard as Karen leans up to press her lips against his own. The kiss is sweet, tentative and fleeting. But the blush adorning Karen's face has him grinning and pulling her into a second deeper kiss that leaves them both panting a bit. Looking away and trying to control her blush, Karen keeps one hand on his chest. You know. I'm not ready for that just yet. Naruto shrugged. That's okay. Take all the time you need. Karen nods, before she thinks of what her heart has secretly wanted to bring up for a while. Can I ask for something else instead? Of course. Smiling, the girl pulls away before kneeling before him, down her knees with a shy smile. When it's between us, can you be more authoritative with me? Like a master? Naruto takes a minute to really think through what she's asking of him before the proverbial light goes off in his head. If that's what you want. Karen nods, blush increasing. It's exactly what I want. I want to serve you, be of service to you. In all ways I can for now. Naruto grins, leaning down to again cup her chin. Well, be a good girl and I'll make sure every day is happy and blissful for you. Something deep within her lighting on fire, Karen nods slowly. Lord Uzukage. Thankfully, like she said, no one but the Uzumaki could come in this space. Someone might have gotten an impressive show after all.